Welcome to the Condor DM show. What's up? How you doing? Tonight I'm covering teenagers from outer space. A Mike Pondsmith game. Mike Pondsmith is one of the most creative, weirdest game designers, probably one of the weirdest in the history of the hobby, and was experimenting with ideas back at a time when we barely knew what would sell, what would work. And then you got to look at his timeline. What era is he in? So what was weird back in his timeline? And he covered some really weird games. And Teenagers from Outer Space is corny, weird, funny, trying to capture what it is to be a teenager back in a certain era. And tonight, the way I'm going to cover the game is based on what the designer intended the game to be. So I'm going to give you advice. I'm going to tell you the fluff and give you advice about how to achieve what Mike wanted you to achieve with the game. There you go. So, yeah, Teenagers from Outer Space. One of the many weird ideas from Mike Pondsmith. I love the guy. I love his creativity. I tried his weirder games. And I don't say weird as some hit on him. Just a very creative, mixed with weird, strange guy who is experimenting with ideas in the hobby back at a time when I guess you could say you could afford to. He had talent around him. It wasn't going to cost him an arm and a leg to try things. So he did. And he tried many things at the time. And we are going to cover one of his strange experiments, right? That he would never do that today because a lot of these ideas will probably cost more money than necessary. And the chance that certain things succeed, no, we know a lot more about the hobby now in the market. So, but I tried a lot of Mike's Pondsmith's weird ideas, right? And Teenagers from Outer Space. I want you to note he's looking at teenagers from an earlier era. Like think about like the 80s and 90s. Don't think about today, right? The modern world. Think about his timeline, his era, right? So it's a take on that. The game has a bit of a Toon comedy feel, like the Toon game, where combat's not a major focus of the game, though it exists. It is in the game. It's just not a major focus. Like it's back when he was making games for a certain experience that might not be combat, might not be anything like Dungeons and Dragons, and this is a great example of something not like that at all. And what you think you're getting is what he's trying to give you. So it's like, you want to be teenagers in a weird place? What are teenagers as far as the way he perceives them back in the 80s and 90s? And think about more like the commercial view of teenagers, not what you would call like the real world of teenagers. Like forget the dark side. Think comedy. Think more out there like that. Think more of a commercial view of what teenagers were back in the 80s or 90s. There you go. That's what you're going to get with this game. Teenagers from Outer Space, where you can play humans or you could even play aliens. Now, I'm not covering right away. We're in our casual time right now, but I mean, that's tonight going to be the coverage when I started. A strange game, but I tried it. I did. Was it interesting? Man, I ran two runs of it, and I never went back to it. I'll be honest with you. It was interesting. People wanted to try it. They were surprised that I was willing to run it. See, I knew some people that personally collected Mike Pondsmith games. That's how I ran into Castle Focusstein and Teenagers from Outer Space, because I thought the games were so weird. And they personally got them sort of like as collectors. Like you say, you're going to get this game, but we're probably never going to play it or run it. So I see it, and I'll be like, okay, I might try it. I knew some people that would actually try some out there games for different experiences. And so I knew some people that would actually try it with me. And so I said, okay, let's have a go at this one. Let's see. I got some players that will play it. Let's try it out. Did 2 runs with it. Not bad, I guess. Not something I went back to though. That was true with a lot of Mike Pondsmith ideas. They were good for a minute, right? You try them out, but a lot of players weren't going to find them appealing. Like I like Castle Funkenstein. I like the concepts. I like a lot of his ideas. But it was hard to get players to want to go back to these games on any repeated format. And it was hard to find players out of the crowd that wanted to play a lot of these games. Like once they understood what the game was, they were like, "Oh, I'll just go kill some goblins in D&D," or even go play Traveler, or go play Pendragon, or go play something like that. Something where I guess it was just more suited to what a lot of people want in the hobby. Mike Pondsmith made games for a minority of people, and I totally got it. I totally understood it. Totally. Right? Just yeah, okay. Weird. The alien gimmick was the most appealing part of the teenager part of the game. It's like you're going to play aliens. And it's the alien view. It's comedy. And it's I don't want to say too much. I won't say more details than this right now. It was based off a gag anime. A gag anime, sort of like a funny anime. That's what the game, Mike Pondsmith's game, was based on. Some gag anime. We'll leave it at that. When I get into the coverage, we'll go more into the details. And there's a lot of neat, interesting ideas in the game. So I think there's some ideas in there that weren't totally dropped. But the game overall, yeah, it's like interesting. It is interesting. I hope to entertain you with going over this game because it's an oddball. It's an oddball. And it is it's neat to hear about this game. It's an odd game in the history of the hobby, in a very weird take, but at a time when you could do this. When you had talent around you, when you had a very talented person that was willing to put their time to some strange things, because you really don't know what's going to hit back then. They did a lot of things that they weren't expecting to be hits to hold up. And so some of the more obvious stuff held up better than others, but they were trying. Like, I mean, some things proved to be weirder hits that would help hold up, like Call of Cthulhu, I would say, is a strange game that could have been one of the many throwaway games, but it wasn't. And to a guy like Pondsmith, I'm pretty sure he looked at that and went, wow, that's interesting. And Pondsmith had just had a history of making some interesting stuff, like cyberpunk stuff he worked on. So it wasn't like his ideas were all going to flop. But it's like, what would hold up? Would a comedy game playing aliens be something where you would continue on? Now, was there other additions and other work on the game later? Yeah, but it sort of floats away on me. Like I didn't check out the later stuff. Tonight I'm going to cover sort of the fluff, starting off with first and second edition, and then we're going to focus on second edition because that's what I ran was second edition teenagers from outer space. I don't know if you want to call it second edition, but it's more like a revised, I guess, revised version. Sort of an updated version with some add-ons. I guess you would call it a second edition. Yeah, okay. Second edition of the game. Neat idea. A neat idea. It just wasn't big on the market. Just wasn't huge on the market. And that's nowadays you swear that's what most people are going for. Things that are going to be pretty hefty on the market. I don't know. Just saying. Neat idea, but you got to get the right people to want to play it. You got to get the right people. So howdy. Hi, how you doing? I'm doing good tonight. Saturday night's a little warm here, of course. Warm. In Canada, I'm not in the part where all the fire and smoke is, so I'm good on that front. And I don't got much to say about the fire and the smoke and all of that sort of depressing to hear about, bad news. But that's not what this channel is about. Talking about like the up to date news. I don't do news coverage on here. No, I got to say, as a public person, over the years, I'm surprised at the kinds of people that approach me privately. Like privately, as a public person, especially when you got people that don't like you got to be very careful about everybody you talk to. I have some people out there that will either be a scam artist somewhere that has nothing to do with who I am or even knowing me. I'm just some random person to the scam artist. And I got people that don't like me, haters, and I got to say, over the years, they've done some strange stuff to, I guess you would say, attempt to hurt me or kill my reputation on here. That's weird. Then you get these really odd people that will approach you. Like, it's usually nice when somebody approaches me because of my content, but you get some odd people, right, that will approach you for very odd reasons, and you're like, okay, that's weird. So I get some really weird people. It's even hard to talk about exactly what I mean by that, right? I hate to be so vague, but it's almost like I want to mention it loud because you get some weird people that will approach you and you're like, all right, dude, yeah, I'm going to pass. Hard pass on that one. Hard pass. No, tonight should be good. Any questions? Go ahead. I at least have one person that passed me in a character today, so that's good. Though I got players that need to pass it in by Sunday. I found I had potentially 4 players for Monday, but one player's had to back out because of sudden change at where he's working. So I'm down to 3. I've decided that if I at least have 3 by Monday, I'll start the campaign. But I need 3. I got at least 2 players that are almost guaranteed. We'll see if the third one comes through. Right? We'll see if the third one comes through. We'll see. I don't know. I just I don't want to have to fill in a group with an NPC, which is the way I set up the campaign. Is, man, I at least need 3 characters in there. Like, potentially I can throw in some help, right? But I would prefer 3 people, not 2. Though I don't want to insult the 2 people that are probably going to be around. So I don't know. It's under consideration. I'm in an up and down state on this. But there is a third person that can possibly get their stuff done by tonight, which would be good. Or tomorrow at some point. And then I can do something I haven't done in a few years, which is, more than a few years. Start an online campaign, which would be good. Get some gaming started, right? Because once you establish something and you keep that going for a while, it just makes it easier for more people to start coming into the circle. And then you can build up. But everything takes time. And usually that first starting block is a little bit of a, man, you got to get going. But once you get going, you're good, right? Once you get going, you're good. Plus, I'm pretty sure some people want to hear about some online gaming I'm doing, and be an opportunity for some people that game with me to say to people what they think, which I'm pretty sure some people want some opinions. So how is this game? Is he any good? Man, I'm confident. They'll say I'm good. Not worried about that. That's not being cocky. That's just, I know my stuff, right? So we'll be good on that front. I'm not worried. But casual time right now. I call this my Joe Rogan time. Before I start coverage. Boom. Though tonight is a strange game I'm covering, so there's a lot of weirdness in the coverage. I mean, I think it will be pretty clear. There's a lot of weirdness and a lot of weird rules and the way they put it together. Like, the combat system is called the box system. I know. The flank system is skills. Like what? Yeah, I like it when people use language that's a little bit more direct for what it is, but I guess I don't mind. Mike Pondsmith was like that. He liked to use some odd language to describe something. Like you got to figure it out. You read, what's this? You start reading, and you got to go through. It's not hard to figure it out, but it just takes a minute to take it all in. Like, oh, it's skills. He's talking about skills here. Okay, that's good. That is good. Is character death a thing? Uh, sort of, maybe. Not really. Again, combat's not a big focus of the game. Like, put it this way, it's a game focused on teenagers. So, for example, the relationship with authority in your parents is something the game focuses on. So the relationship your character has with their parents, big issue. But again, I want you to look at tonight's game, not like Mike Pondsmith trying to cover teenagers, the real dark side of the 80s and 90s teens, but more like a commercial look of teens in that era. Right? So take it in from there. Teens in the era. Think about like teen movies back in like the 80s and 90s. And he's taken sort of like teenagers as they would be portrayed in the movies. Like casual movies about teens, right? And yeah, the game is based on a bit of comedy. I don't know if you want to call it comedy, as much as it's not expecting you to be comedians or like do a comedy story, more like it's just play into the ridiculousness of it. And from that, the idea is you get funny. So it just be ridiculous, like accept the ridiculousness of what's going on. If I say too much, I'll end up giving a lot of aspects of the game away. So I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too much. And anybody who wants to come in and say whatever they want to say, ask questions, go ahead. Door's wide open. Ask away. Ask away. All these D&D people out here won't be interested in this game. I know that for sure. Oddball game. But I like doing that type of content. Like I don't do these streams as in I think I'm guaranteed to grow some big audience off these. Like I accept taking the hit. I like being unique. I like finding unique people in the audience. And I know they're actually a minority. So I'm actually happy to gather those people here. Like a minority of people. Like I like a sort of side of the hobby where I've tried all kinds of different games. So I like people that want to hear about this stuff because I grew up being interested in this stuff. Right. So I always knew all these side games they weren't as successful as D&D. So I knew even covering these through streams, it wouldn't be like getting on here and covering AD&D 1E and reading to you from the book. Because I know, guys, look, I try not to get bothered by this stuff, but I'll see guys get on here. They'll open the AD&D 1E book. I mean, they can pretty much read a section to you. And then put the book down and go, that's it. Boom. And barely give an opinion about what they think. Just read from the book, put down. Next thing you know, they'll have 300 likes on that video, maybe 2,000 views, and people will praise them. So I try not to get bothered by part of the audience of the tabletop role-playing game, old school part that can be a little shallow like that. Like, just like I get on here, I try to be entertaining all this. I come at it with a unique game, has some unique content. Then I see a guy get on and do a video where he pretty much picks up the AD&D 1E book or Beckme, and he just like pretty much reads a section. Here's a section, barely gives you an opinion, puts the book down, says, there you go, turns it off. And next thing you know, I got to see that guy with 300 some likes, and he's being praised, man. What a great video. I'm like, the guy barely gave an opinion. He pretty much told you exactly what it says in the book, even if he didn't exactly say it word for word, right? And that's it. That's his whole video. His whole video is to read to you and not so many words what it says in the book. And that's it. And that video will get high praise. We'll get maybe 1,000 or 2,000 views, and he might get like 15 or 20 people subbing to him just off that video alone. And I'll be like, man, that's all right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm not going to be able to compete with that. Not with the weird tabletop role playing game content I cover sometimes. No doubt. No doubt. And then even getting into certain aspects that aren't always in the book that can be challenging opinions, that's not always going to fly with the majority because it's not a majority opinion. But that's how do you have an impact on the conversation? That's how you do it. And you got to have a platform to have an impact. So guys with a bigger platform that will still be safe with the content, a lot of them don't do it. So even with a smaller platform, the only way I can have an impact is to take a hit on growth. And then I don't like cheap content. I really don't. I find it boring. Like it would make me feel fake to get on here and just go, all right, I'm going to cover second edition. Let's talk with the torches. Here's pretty much what it says. Boom, click. Wow, I got 3,000 views and like 200 and 300 likes. It's great. And to be honest, I mean, even if it comes to all these games, like second edition, for example, there's probably about 500 guys out there that have done 2E content, 2E AD&D content, where they've actually told you everything it says in the books. Like everything. They've covered it already. But it's said you can get on here and just go, okay, even though there's like 700 people that have already done this, I'll just read the same section again. I'll put it down, and likely I can get a lot of views, a lot of likes, and I'll be praised for good content. Okay. I think that's shallow. I don't know. Just bores me. Bores me. Or the idea of getting on here and attacking some other person who does live plays or WotC gaming. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about Mercer. I'm not jealous. And I don't take advantage either. Like I'll notice when somebody says something, there might be some heat that goes around, but it's like cheap heat. It's like that recent time when Matt Mercer talked about something to do with player agency. He's talking about pushing something on a player. And that has to do with player agency, right? And what got like I just laughed at the hypocrites in the old school that went after him about that. Because I'm like, okay, so they start getting after him. Well, you're messing with player agency. That's bad. Messing with player agency is bad. All right, go back 7 years in the old school. More than half the guys that went after Mercer over the player agency thing, you know what they say in the old school? Player agency is a joke that we should ignore. That's bullshit. That's just new school talk. They criticized the idea of player agency and laughed at it. But how convenient, how fucking two-faced are people? Here it is like 7 years later. Same people I've heard degrade the idea of player agency the second they thought they could use it to attack Matt Mercer. They went, there, he's against player agency. And that's bad. And I'm like, dude, I heard you laugh about this 7 years ago and thought the whole idea of player agency was stupid. Please stop being a fucking hypocrite. It's like the Shadow Dark stuff. Some parts of the old school make me sort of sad. Like when Kelsey Dion first brought it out, there was a starting point. It was like a trigger, like a little bit of a trigger fire where guys in the old school start attacking her in her game initially. The YouTubers, the content creators, the guys on X, probably 90% of old school guys were all taking critical shots at her right away. I remember I had to bring out a video, I don't know how many months into it, like 2 months into her bringing the game out. And I just said, guys, I said to the old school, I actually brought out a video directly criticizing her, saying, you got to stop attacking her. She's not going away. And you can already tell she's slightly popular with the right people. So she's going to be around. This is not looking good on you. And over 90% of the guys were ripping her. Just ripping her on their streams, in their videos. And then what was it about a year later? When she's too popular to get rid of, when she's already been hyped up, and there's a lot of old school guys that are finally opened up to her game and said, it's not too bad. When they finally got to that stage, a bunch of the old school guys that were attacking her, they just act like they never said a word. They just start going, yeah, she's cool and great. Well, dude, you were saying she was crap like a year ago. You ripped her whole. Here you are now talking like she's great. And then the other part that bothered me was seeing her go on streams with guys that would say things like, yeah, I knew you had a good game when you first came out. And she'd be on the stream with the old school guy. And you can go back into their content and you can find where the guy is saying her game is crap. Just another 5e crap thing trying to take over the OSR. Yet the guy is telling her on the stream, I knew you had a good idea and a good game when you first showed up. It's like, no, that's not what you said, dude. You're a fucking two-faced liar. You're lying right to her. You're lying right to her face. You did not say that. You attacked her. And I'm one of the only guys in the, like, there was like 10% of guys that were playing fair or not saying something about Kelsey Dion that was negative. I remember I had to come out and do a video. I was like with the only guy who's doing it, coming out and going, you got to leave her alone, right? And I even said, we got to show that we're fair people. You got to give her an opportunity and not attack her. You can't be doing that. It's not good. She's not coming out and saying stuff that sounds crazy to me. I said, you got to pay attention. Don't assume with her. That's what I said. I said, you guys, this is going to look really terrible on you if you keep attacking her. And they're lucky. They're lucky they can sweep under the rug what they did. But that's what they did. And they did it as a group. It's like nobody calling anybody out. A year later, all the old school guys that were saying, yeah, and they were saying things like she's woke even before they knew who she was. Oh, yeah, she was getting those accusations. Her game was bad. Oh, yeah. A lot of guys now that are praising her game talked about it like it was horrible. Again, seeing her on streams with guys that lied right to her face. That was pretty terrible. Because I'm watching the stream and I'm like, yeah, I watch it. One of the reasons I brought my video was because I seen exactly that guy talking crap about her. And here he's telling her right to her face, I knew you had a good game as soon as you showed up. No, you didn't. You were saying her game was crap and she was woke. What are you talking about, you liar? But here, right to her face. Yeah, man, I knew. Yeah, sure, buddy. Uh-huh. So some things bother me. It's again with the player agency. The old school spent years degrading what they call the new school player agency argument. And I'm the only guy, like 7 years ago, I would come out and do videos like, well, we've always had player agency. We don't always call it that. It's players having authority over their characters. I said, we've always had it. We had never had a term for it. But they were all attacking it. Years later, again, to go after Matt Mercer, suddenly a bunch of guys that didn't care for the whole concept and laughed at it. Now it's, man, you got to respect players' player agency. Dude, I heard directly you years ago. Many of the guys I can say this about, not just one. So there's no individual targets here, but it's just like, I heard more than one guy say it like player agency matter. I'm like, dude, I've heard all of you laugh at the entire concept years ago. It's like, what, did you forget? Did you forget you did that? Well, how convenient that you forgot to, for when it comes to Matt Mercer. Yeah, now you want to jump down his throat and attack him. And even recently, the 5e people are talking about taking character death more serious. Well, look, even the new school will pretend, and a lot of them came out and said character death were stupid. So the new school is going to do what some of the old school guys did. You're going to notice this. It's going to annoy you a bit because it's the same way it annoyed me with the old school. It's going to annoy people with the new school guys. I guarantee there are guys that said the idea of character death was dumb. But right now, it's popular to say character death is something we should care about. Something that should matter to the game. They're all changing their language at the same time. But I guarantee you probably dig far enough back into their content and what they said and find parts where they're saying character death is stupid. It's not good for the story. So what I'm going to tell people right now, because I noticed the old school guys already saying stuff like this, right? I'm like, you're going to notice about them what I noticed about you. And you're going to be annoyed with them. And then I hope you understand why I have been, on certain subjects, annoyed with you. because you're going to call them two-faced. Because now they're going to be okay with character death. But some of the same guys that are talking about character death being maybe something that matters in the hobby, they said years ago, some of these guys that are saying it right now in the new school, said character death is stupid and not good for the story. Something we shouldn't have to care about. Now they talk like they didn't even say that years ago. Now they're going to talk like they never brought that up. And I'm like, well, old school guys, you did this on subjects like player agency, on Kelsey Dion's game. You did exactly this stuff. And that's where I tell them, when you have a bias, when you look at what I say, I do commentary on the new and old school, right? So I'll be like, if I do commentary on the new school, everyone's like, oh, in the old school, they're like, fine, that's good. Nobody comes by and says, you want to name names, dude? Nobody asks. If I put the same critical view to the old school, I play fair. I play fair ball with both sides. Suddenly, there'll be a biased mindset from the old school audience. Oh, man, you're attacking people. All right, when I criticize Watsy and that, do you call it attacks? No. No. Well, dude, if it's, that means I'm just criticizing and you don't see it as an attack, right? Yeah, with Watsy, right? Well, then, dude, I'm criticizing. I'm not attacking. That's why I'm not bringing up individuals, because I'm not attacking. I'm not attacking. I'm criticizing the community. I'll criticize the new school the way I criticize the old school. It's only fair ball, right? And if it's okay to do it this side, it's okay to do it that side. And what's all that criticism? All it does is it's social pressure on communities and people to behave a little better in the hobby. It's like, look, yeah, if you did act like idiots, all criticism is a bit of social pressure to behave better. Like, yes, it's okay to call you out for what you did that was awful. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a public figure. All kinds of people feel free to say what they want about me. They do. If they think I behave badly, they say it out loud. I don't go around saying people can't say that, because even if I don't agree with you, the reason I won't push back on you saying, even if I think you're calling out bad behavior I don't actually do, the reason I would never push back is I believe in the concept of what you're doing. Like, I believe I am behaving badly. It's okay. I'm a public figure. It's fair to criticize me. I think if I'm behaving badly, it's okay for people to call me out and put social pressure on me to behave better. Like, I personally don't take it as an attack. So I just know other people are sensitive. They'll turn my words into an attack. So if I say this about this YouTuber, it's not criticism. It's an attack. I'm starting drama. But notice when they say something about me and use my name, I call it criticism. I don't call it an attack like that. Now, when I do say there's an attack, it has to do with insults or lies about me. It's very specific. That I do see as an attack. But plenty of just criticizing me for how I behave, even if I don't agree with you, I just think that the right to be able to do that is necessary. That's all it is social pressure. And I'm a commentator, so I think it's good for people like myself and others to put social pressure on different groups in the hobby to behave better. And if you tell me that's wrong, I think you're out of your fucking goddamn mind. Sorry, Lord. I think you're out of your damn mind. If you think it's unhealthy to put social pressure on a group to behave better when they're behaving poorly, you're the one who's lost the plot here. Right? It's just okay. And so I don't care what people label what I do. It's like, again, he's doing drama. Yeah, label it whatever you want. I'm going to keep doing it. Dismiss what he says. Well, you can say that. Some people will, some people won't. But I think it's part of being public. And these are public discussions we're talking about, or the community, sort of the outgoing part of the community. So I think it's good to call certain things out. I want the new school to have some pressure on it. Do I think I can control the narrative? No. Do I think I can control people? That's not the intent. Pressure is to get people that are behaving badly to want to change on their own, not by force or rule or law. right? I don't believe in controlling anybody. So it's just like, hey, man, a little bit of social pressure, embarrassment for bad behavior is good if people don't want to be embarrassed. Like if they don't want to do something they have to be ashamed about because they're ashamed about it, well, they might not behave that way going forward. It's good to learn from your mistakes. Like, is it good to learn? Like, look, did a bunch of people jump the gun and attack Kelsey D on her game from the old school? I mean, from the content creators, and I mean the vast majority. Did they jump the gun, throw criticism at her, and verbal attacks? They did. And it's not that there's nothing. Look, to me, you just go say you're sorry. You didn't mean to. She seems like a cool cat. Like she'd be cool with it. She wouldn't be offended by, you jumping the gun. Like it's just like how it is. Nerds. I don't think she would be offended. I don't even think it'd be wrong. It's be good to be honest. But could you learn from doing that? So the next person that comes along, you don't just jump the gun and start attacking people. It's good. Yeah. It's good. It's like what Matt Mercer. Don't go around pretending you suddenly care about something you've never cared about before just to attack them. That's shallow, and that just shows jealousy. Player agency is something the old school has ridiculed and degraded for years. The concept, bringing up the words as a new school thing. It's just don't, dude. Don't suddenly pretend you give a fuck about this. Just at the point of being able to use it to criticize Matt Mercer. Personally, I just don't, because so many people don't like the guy. It's brought me to peace with the whole concept of people like Matt Mercer. I don't care about his politics. I don't have to agree with him, but I don't hate the guy at all. And when you say Matt Mercer effect, it's like, dude, is it just him? No. Is there an effect that comes from things from all parts of the hobby? Yeah. So when they say the Mercer effect, I'm like, what about the old school community effect that destroys parts of the hobby, including the old school itself? What about all the arguments you cause and the misinterpretations and lying to people, but the fact that, like, say, pure theater of the mind? There's a good one. The majority of old school DMs did pure theater of the mind combat. So are you poisoning the hobby when you lie to newcomers, telling them that, yeah, you really can't do combat without using miniatures? And that's and they've destroyed that element of the hobby, where at one point, I guess we could do it, but now because of a bunch of lies from people in the old school, now people don't even try. Hey, Starblaze. Oh, sure. So, I was noticing the 5e content creators were going on about character death being a good thing. Now, the reason I was bringing this up, we're talking about this stuff, is some of them, if you go back a few years on these guys, at one point you'll hear them saying character death is stupid and it's not good for the story. And I mean, they spent years pushing that. Character death is no good. It's against the story. Out of nowhere, they behave like they've never even said it. No apology, no explanation, just out of nowhere. Well, character death is pretty good for the game. Well, wait, dude. Wait, hold on. Years ago, you ripped this to shreds. Don't you at least want to say you changed your mind? Don't you want to acknowledge that you have degraded this thing down into a ditch? Said it was no good and anybody who was into character death was stupid? Remember when you said that? But now it's good. Now, because it's popular and more guys are out there saying, maybe we should, and then you're getting on the bandwagon at the same time as a lot of other people. I said the new schools, the old school is going to notice this. And I've noticed the old school guys already starting to call this out. Oh, now they're saying character death is good. I'm like, yeah, because you're going to notice that years ago, they said it wasn't. And that's going to bother you that they're playing this sort of deceitful game, right? And then I remind the old school that, hey, wait, you have your own history of this. Remember Kelsey Dion, right? Shadow Dark? when that first came out, want to know what the old school did? The majority of content creators, they all attacked her, called her woke, and said her game sucked. I mean, the vast majority said it sucked. And then a year later or so, she goes on old school tabletop role playing game streams with guys who said it sucked, hinted that she was woke and everything, and they said stuff like this right to her face. I knew your game was going to be good when it first came out, dude. I made a video about 2 months after all the this verbal nonsense was floating at her, and I said, guys, Kelsey Dion is an interesting woman. We don't know much about her. She's obviously in with certain people. Learn more about her. Don't just attack. I said, it's really stupid. I said, it's going to backfire. I said this without attacking her. I said, it's going to backfire. Here it is a year or so out. They're on streams with her, lying to her face. And I'm like, yeah. And then I reminded them about their recent attack on Matt Mercer. So Matt Mercer was giving some advice that you could paint as being anti-player agency. All right, so a bunch of old school guys come out and go, that's anti-player agency, and player agency is well, it's that's a good thing. You shouldn't be attacking it. I'm like, wait. Player agency is a new term, and you go back 5 or 6 years ago, and almost the entirety of the old school content creators were saying that the term and concept was the dumbest thing ever. They degraded player agency, made fun of it. What did I say 7 years ago? I made videos. I was saying, well, instead of attacking it, I said we've always had player agency. We've just never called it that. It was authority over the character. I said, why are we attacking this thing? But that's what guys were doing. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, after degrading player agency, after attacking it, after calling it stupid, how convenient, right at the last minute. Well, even though we did that, let's all act like we didn't. Let's all act like we didn't attack this concept. Let's all act like we never said nothing bad about it. And we'll all say it's really important. And we'll say it for the purpose of criticizing and attacking Matt Mercer. So I said, I'm trying to point out to the old school because I know some of the guys are already mad at the new school for the character death gimmick. I'm saying the reason they should let it go and just calm down, it's everyone's guilty of this. Now, I do commentary on the new school and old school. Can I also point out this, Starblazer? If I do my commentary criticizing the new school, the old school guys will be like, yeah, that's good. That's all right. I'll be like, so you would count me as not attacking. I'm just criticizing and putting social pressure on them to behave better, right? Yeah. So I say, when I do the exact same thing to the old school, you're willing to see that the same way? Well, you're attacking. No, dude. No, I'm not. If it's not an attack here and I'm doing the same thing, it's just social pressure. And I actually think it's good to put social pressure on people in the hobby, especially when they behave badly in the past. You shouldn't behave that way going forward, and you should learn from your mistakes. Not ignore them, not act like they didn't happen, not come out and say you changed your mind. And it's almost like none of the guys came out with Kelsey Dion and just said, look, man, we got it wrong. I mean, that would have been cool just to see some guys come out and go, you know what? Yeah, at first I went at her, but got it wrong. Well, here's what I mean. You can still criticize her for many reasons, but here's my take on it, Starblazer. It was the initial incorrectness of the statements or careless. Like, I would like to think that if you have criticism, it's from gathered information. But imagine just, she comes out, she's woke. Do we know that? Her game sucks. Does it? Because it's not AD&D 1E. Like, you got to remember the reasons they attacked her without knowing anything. They're all, these are the AD&D 1E, sticks up their asses, guys. If it's not pushing their game, everything else sucks. Oh, no, you can say what you want. It's like I said the other night, I don't care what the audience says. I mean, as long as it's not you going too far. I mean, obviously, I don't say I would agree with you. Like, I personally have nothing against her. And it's just, she doesn't make enough sway into the hobby for me to care about what she's doing in that way. I don't just assume all these things about her, and I never did. I said it would backfire. I said, if you're going to have opinions, even bad, I said in my video, I said, there's nothing wrong with criticizing her or going at her, but I said people should know a little bit more. They were coming straight out of the box, and I'm like, do you know if she is this stuff? Like, do you know? They didn't. I'm like, are you just attacking her game because it's OSR, but it's not AD&D 1E? The truth is, that's why. It wasn't AD&D 1E. And these are the same guys that said second edition doesn't count as old school. Right? These are the guys that want to control everything in the hobby. So when something doesn't come out that plays exactly to what they demand, they'll attack it with knowing next to nothing about it. Though I personally have nothing against Kelsey Dion. I don't know her that well. I don't know her like you might know a bit more. I don't know her to have the opinions. I'm not saying I'm going to agree with you. Really angry yesterday. He used coded language with a host about doxing someone. Meant me he should be careful. I don't know. I think people go crazy with the stuff online. They do. I've had people do all kinds of crazy stuff to me over nothing. It's like soft. It's like, I don't agree with your opinion, so I'm going to create an image of a receipt that is obviously fake, and then pretend it's a real receipt, and then lie to people that you charged someone for an event. And it was a big deal because there were some people that went on streams, not even their own, just on other people's streams. Instead of communicating that was an image, they actually talked about it like it was just a legit receipt, and I was charging somebody. That was one of the many attempts to take me down. Character assassination. Get on YouTube, want to make money, put themselves out there, but don't want criticism. It just doesn't work like, no, it's you're a public figure. I personally don't go after people, but I think the audience has the right to say what they're going to say about you. I do. That's why I go Starblazer. If you've been around, you know people talk shit about me. You know this. Do you see me going to their content and saying they can't say it or freaking out? No. Like even one guy, I mean, we mentioned last time, which was the guy who does all those streams. I didn't really respond to him until it was like well over almost 20 streams, right? I left it alone. So I don't care. I think he had the right to say whatever he wanted to. Yeah, it's the unfairness. A lot of guys, old school, new school, there's just people in this world that they definitely want to give it to you, but they don't want to take it. Or they'll project onto you. There's a lot of guys in the hobby that are like that. And trying to control people's speech. I get really bothered by that because the same guys I'll hear go like, I believe in free speech. Well, why are you reporting another YouTuber that you don't agree with? Because that would get him censored. That would get him kicked off the platform. And what does that mean? It means you're anti-free speech. So why are you going on this? I mean, I know it sounds good to say you're pro-free speech, but don't you got to be pro-free speech, right? That's it. I mean, to me, there's nothing. It's the way people go at it. The more you try to cover something up, the more corrupt it sounds. Right? Like I get on here and I bust my ass for people that want to support me and give me money. Am I here to grow and have some success and earn some dough to maybe especially, but realistically, maybe cover some of the costs on the internet? That's a start, right? I'm just straight up about it. And you're not going to lie. There's nothing wrong with working really hard and going, okay, I'm doing this to get rewarded. It's the second you cover that up or lie about it, makes it sound more corrupt. Right? That's when stuff sounds scammy to me. I'll just say I'm on here to earn some dough, and if, hey, my work really gets me to the next level of earning it, cool. Perfect example of hypocrisy is when I rail on about metagaming character maxing, but they will happily YouTube max make money. Yeah. Well, that's it. That's it. That's really it. I mean, there's just You don't always have to cover it up, but you don't got to go on about it. But it's just like, dude, when you do cover it up or when you lie, that's why I get at the guys to say, because they'll the way one of the ways they attack me is I'm open about my wanting to be successful on here. So they'll be like, well, we're only on here to have fun. I'm like, yeah, no, your actions and everything you do is all evidence towards you wanting to succeed and make something. So, it's you're speaking out your ass because your statements aren't aligned with your actions, right? Your actions are that of somebody who wants to make money. Your statements are, we're only here to have fun, but you're doing things to make money. That's when people can sound like they're full of shit. That's when I say to people like yourself, it can sound worse. That's when that's when the audience will get mad or criticize you. And not just everyone. They'll have their audience that likes them that's going to have a biased mindset. You got to remember that Starblazer, you might find yourself in a minority because there'll be people that have a biased mindset. Then there'll be a good number of people that don't care that they're doing stuff like that. A lot of people don't care. Let's be honest with ourselves. There'll be a minority of people that are going to really be bothered. And minority can still be a fair number of people. Don't get it wrong. But that can sooner or later come back to haunt you. No. I mean, if you name names, I don't care. But I personally just don't go at people like that. And to be honest, Starblazer, here's why. Here's why I think it's foolish too. Multiple guys are guilty of this stuff. So part of me thinks it's unfair to target one person to make it drama like that. That's why I think it's just okay to criticize the community, put pressure on, because it's in almost every case, it's multiple people. So there's a side of me that agrees with the concept that it is unfair to target one individual and say, that guy. Yeah, but what about the other 40 guys? Right? What about the other 40 guys? So it's once you realize just how many people are usually out there behaving poorly, you start realizing that, look, instead of making drama and targeting individuals, because they just use it for that. Remember, here's what I say to Starblazer, why I don't say names too. If you want to criticize and call stuff like this out, how effective are you? If I say a name, well, what happens? The point that I make gets ignored. Why? Because now they can call it attacks and drama. So if I had a good point, like you want to make a point, if I have a good point for public communication, what's better? For me to say a name that allows them to turn that into drama and attack and ignore the point? Or is it more powerful to sit there and not say a name? So then the point has to be considered. Like you can't just drop the point for the claim of drama and attacks now. Now the point is out there. So it's effective communication to Starblazer, where if you feel something about certain people, don't say names. And you want to know what? I don't feel bad about commentary on the groups. It's like, dude, people can say what they want to say about me. I take it all the time. Like I have so much heat sent my way for the last 7 years that nobody can say, nobody in the old school has taken as much criticism as I have. Not on the vast majority of it. Streams week after week for almost 2 straight years by 20 YouTubers. Starblazer, when you say you get some heat, dude, I'm not trying to make you lesser than me in some egotistic way, because it's like sort of not happy that I'm sort of popular on the attack front. But dude, you haven't had 20 old school top YouTubers focus on you with streams for over 2 years, making you an attack target and then turning you into content forever. Right? You want to try that one out? You want to have people where they're doing 5 videos a week, 3 streams every week, focused, and some streams dedicated to me. And a lot of times it's either saying my name, and then many guys will not say my name, but say my ideas. So it's been constant, and I've been going through that for 7 straight years, dude. A lot of attention, right? But I let it go because I think I'm a public figure. People have the right to say what they want. Like I said the other day, I could name 20 names, but really, I think I could say it in a generic way without signaling any one person out. I think it's almost better that way when you think about a Starblazer. aren't your points stronger when you say the point and nobody can just cut it off to attack? Because that's what they're going to do. Just think about what they're doing with your statements, right? It's manipulation. So if you think you got a point and you say a name, your point's gone. Now it's, oh, you're a jerk. You attacked that guy. Fuck off. We're not listening to the rest of what you say. I start getting tired of these doing it. There's old school guy in Florida who uses your intros and not cool. Yeah, I'm so used to it. And some of the guys doing it now, they don't get it. It's like, dude, I've had people doing the streams about me for 7 years. 7 straight years. Even the names change. Like there's a new group of YouTubers today, and it was a different group that initially starts, right? So it's like I say, it's went through layers. There was one group that did it, used my name, did the streams, used my logos, used my things. New group does it. New YouTubers use my thing, attack me. I'm content. Most of them are gone. A new group comes in. I think we're at the 3rd stage now since 7 years. And they're doing the same thing. I'm like, okay. And they all think they're fucking unique. It's like, do you remember your thing? There's for the Durstip but cannot take heat. Yeah, can't. They have a glass jaw, yep. It's impossible to respect those people, and you would love to troll them because they deserve it. Nah, some of them. Maybe. But they can't take it, and they take things too far. Right? As a public figure, I don't take things too far because I think you have the right to say what you want to say about me. And that's it. That's all it is. I don't turn into, I want to fight you at a place. And that's, guys will just criticize each other, and it turns into this like big drama. I got to destroy your life. I got to put you out there. I got to, like, they go psycho. And then even worse, what I say, Starblazer, is they'll have people in their audience that they don't really know. They realize is they're influencing guys to attack people. Like, they really do. I have a lot of guys from certain guys' audience. And I don't always make it public. I mean, I've gotten some really bad stuff from them. And I know the guys that are sending me this crazy stuff, they're inspired by the YouTuber that goes on about me. And they actually think that what they're doing is okay because of the way the YouTuber goes on at me. So you inspire some crazy people when you talk a certain way. Right? But it's like, dude, they take it too far. A little bit of criticism. It's like, dude, we're all public figures. It's like, you should be able to take it without us like, oh, we got to go fight somewhere or fucking dox each other or fucking go crazy. But guys get crazy on here. I'm not even mentioning names right now, Starblazer. Do you know how many people are just heated over the way we're talking right now? No names mentioned. Not a single name. Well, talk about like Dion and Matt Mercer, but nobody cares about that. I haven't said a single name. And even from this, because guys are desperate, they'll want content. That's another thing you got to remember, Starblazer. A lot of guys they're short-term in their thinking. They don't got good content. So they're desperate for content. Like, what can they turn to content? What gets them heated? What are they going to turn to something? Get the seals clapping. Oh, there he goes again. There's Condor. Do. We'll do our stream on him. Dedicated stream. do whatever you want, but I don't get the craziness. I'll never dox people. I don't want to meet people for a fight somewhere. And my audience is well aware that I would never, ever inspire or support threats to other content creators. My audience knows it well. I completely oppose it. And I make that clear to my audience. I keep telling my audience all the time, it's okay for people to say what they say. I don't want people going out there and fighting battles for me. I say it all the time. And he just got invited to Gary Con. Way too much fake growth, fake application. Well, it depends on what you call success here too, Starblazer. Because there's guys here that grow and they'll grow rapidly, but they'll grow with a small ceiling. So a lot of people paint stuff as success. I don't think it's actual success. Like, if you attack people here, or you just talk about AD&D 1E, and you do a little bit of controversy, if your ceiling is 15,000 guys, but you can grow rapidly close to 10,000 and then slowly keep building up with them. To me, that's not success. And it's the content you're doing is shallow. And the way I test it is if I took one of these guys and put them on the stage for an hour in front of an audience, could they entertain an audience just by talking to them for an hour? And I know they can't, some of these guys, right? So I'm like, it's like getting up and pretending to be something you're not, right? He's pissed fire in the eyes. I think he just wants to dox me. You're not even a content creator. If they're that crazy about things, I think it's yeah. I really do think there's a small ceiling. But if you're just a commenter, it's even more dangerous, I guess, coming over and commenting on my stuff too. Starplacer. You'll get slightly more attention here than you normally would elsewhere, right? I guarantee that. But no, I don't believe in mentioning names. And even with, like, I think I just dial back things enough that people should make sense of it. See, what I try to do is reach the sensible people in the audience, even the people that don't agree with me. It's like I want them to hear, like, yeah, people have the right to criticize me, and then go, oh, that's fair. Like that I criticize back and I don't say names. Okay, that's fair. I want to make the point to people that are reasonable and say, well, I'm criticizing the new school. You're okay with that, right? Yeah. So isn't it okay that I criticize the old school the same way as long as I'm not mentioning names? A fair-minded person will go, even if they have a feeling about it, they'll be like, yeah, logically, that's right. That's right. And that's the kind of people I'm trying to reach. Those people. I'm always trying to connect with those people. I'm trying to grow with those people. Right? The people that are fucking rational. Reasonable, rational people that can hear things and go, yeah, fair. And have I evolved? Was I perfect over the years? No, I don't pretend to be. But still, we're just out here, at times people talking some shit. But it's like, dude, I put in things like, I remember years ago being accused of attacking somebody who's done a bunch of streams on me. I'm like, well, I think I was pretty good that I didn't respond for the first 10 or 15 streams. Don't you think that before you paint me as going crazy, don't you think that that part paints me as actually being pretty relaxed and ignoring most of it? They used to say, if you say something about Steven or Condor, he'll react to everybody that says anything about him. Yet, if you paid attention, you would realize, wait, Steven's not reacting to like 99% of people that talk about him. See, when you take the real evidence in and you can think rationally and look at what I'm doing, you start realizing, okay, he's right. Steven's right. There really is like a whole bunch of people saying stuff about him. He's not done a video with these other 40 guys. Because I'm not responding to 99% of people. And then when you look at what I do respond to, it might be like, oh, the 20th stream came out about me, so I respond to that. What about the other, whatever, the 99% of shit that's said about me from other people? Notice I'm not doing a reaction video to that. Rational, fair-minded people take the evidence in for what it is, no matter how they feel. And they'll be like, okay, that's fair. He's not. Like, it's just the evidence is on my side on this. I'm not. So I don't. And I'm purposely doing that to show people I'm not going crazy. But when people get their feelings hurt by one or two things you say, and maybe they're selective in their hearing or selective in what they check out what you're doing. Like I could do 20 videos in 2 weeks. Now, one or two could be critical. I'll be told, and the other like 18 are gaming advice. Like, so the vast majority of my content is more gaming than it is commentary or criticism on other parts. I'll be like, Steven, all you do is criticize this stuff. Well, what about the 18 videos I did with gaming advice and covering games? Like people are so selective. I remember I used to point this out. I used to get a laugh out of this. I don't know how many guys, just old school guys that would come along to me and say this to me. I had a playlist at one point. I sort of took it down because I've done it a general D&D playlist now. Cool. But I used to have a second edition AD&D playlist that was separated and had over 70 videos. It's a lot of videos compared to what a lot of other people do. That's a lot of videos for a playlist all focused on one game. I used to have guys, old school guys, that would come on and go, man, you never do second edition videos. Why don't you do a second edition video like you got none on your channel? Well, I'm like, what about the playlist with 70 videos focused on it? I mean, that's selective. That's people being very selective about how they view you. They paint you up. They don't pay attention to things. They don't look into what you've done. And they don't count it. Once they see you a certain way, alternative evidence that would tell them that they're wrong, they ignore. So it's like, of course, I'm being told by guys like, hey, you don't got really, like, you like second edition, you don't got any second edition videos. Well, I do have 70 some. And that went over every aspect of the game and explained it like in every detail plus. And then some repeated statements. And I have entire streams. Like, I have 2 streams covering the game. I have the whole game, focused on. I have second edition settings I've covered. Like, if you go into now just my D&D playlist, you can find a crap load of second edition content. And then you'll still find my streams on second edition. And a lot of my statements about D&D in general sometimes could be mixed in with covering areas that second edition covered. So it's like, dude, I've done, like, what they're telling me I should do, I've done already. But that's what you call selective, because they paint a certain picture of me. So in their minds, well, all you do is this content. No, the last 15 videos I've done, I did one of those videos. And that's just straight commentary. So what about the other 14 videos that were gaming advice? What do you say about them? Like, just, complete mind warped. Like, they just do not pay attention. It's because they're selective in what they take in. That's not my fault, man. That's on them. That's why I said, when someone comes across my content that doesn't have a biased view of me and isn't selective, and they take in the totality of what I've done because they have no reason not to, that's why I don't lose support anymore. Like I've told the old school community, the echo chamber, if you keep lying about me, it's just going to stop working. Because if you keep telling lies and people keep continuously coming by and going, okay, that's not true, you've done all these. I know. Or they'll say, I'm attacking a guy, a whole bunch of them in the old school echo chamber. Well, he's done 20 streams on you. Somebody without a bias will come by and go, yeah, you're just responding to like almost 20 streams. Yeah, I know. So it's what they don't understand is if the people without a bias, none of that works on them. Good evening, humans from Tell Us Time. I understand discussing semi-sentinel mold tonight before Teenage from Outer Space. That is, yeah, what's going on? Because Black Rose, I think the discussion got brought up because I went in, well, Starblazer has some issues with people, and I know he does. So me and him could carry on about some things. But the 5e guys are going on about character death being good in the game. Guys that a few years ago said degraded character death, said it was stupid, and it was anti the story and everything else. They don't say they change their minds. They don't say nothing. Now they just say character death. It's a good thing. I'm like, so you change your mind? What about years ago when you said it was awful and people like me were the dumbest fucks in the fucking world for pitching it? And we had no idea what we were talking about. And our style of gaming with character death sucked and was trash and no good. Remember when you said all that? And now, out of nowhere, no explanation, no, hey, you change your mind, just, hey, character stuff, it's good for the game. Oh, even good for the story. And then old school guys were going on about that. My whole pitch was, hey, old school guys, calm down. You've had your own hypocrisy. When we look at Kelsey Dion, Shadow Dark, they did something similar to her, attacked her. And like a year or so later, when they realized she was too popular to push away, there was no guys that were coming out that were just deceitful. There were guys going on streams with her going, Yeah, I knew from day one your game was going to be good. Yet you track back at their content for over a year when she first comes out, and they fucking attack her as being woke without knowing it, saying her game is trash, no good. Same guy says to her face, I knew your game was going to be good. Yeah, you could tell right away. Wait, dude. And I seen some of these guys, and I did a video counting them saying, I don't know if you remember this, Black Rose, you might remember where I did the video saying, don't attack her yet. You don't know nothing about her. This is going to backfire. You got to play fair. And I even said to the old school, if you think the new school is hypocritical and bad, show them a better side of yourself. Don't just attack her because she's not making another clone of AD&D 1E. It just does. Biased thinking. And I was just like saying, everyone has these issues. And so what I was saying is, Black Rose, I don't bother mentioning names, but sometimes I'll do commentary on the new school and the old school. And what I tell the old school is this, I'll say to the old school guys, so you think it's okay that I have commentary on like Mercer, Watsy, or whatever, like the new crowd, right? Yeah. Would you count that as criticism or attacks? They'll be like, well, it's criticism. And so when I do the same thing on you guys, what do you call it? It's drama and attacks. No, it's not, dude. I'm doing the same thing. And if it's socially acceptable that I criticize them, it is socially acceptable I come out and criticize you as a commentator, right? Right. So just playing on people. And then Starblazer, I think he'd be the first one to admit this. I'm not degrading what he thinks. I'm just saying, I know he gets a little butthurt about some of these guys. And I'll tell him it's no good to mention names. And you got to think about it. Even when you want to mention names, Black Rose, I say it's unfair. My argument to Starblazer was this. It's unfair to go after one individual. Because in reality, there'll be like 20 or 30 guys doing the same thing. That's why I just do commentary on the general community. Especially now, right? I avoid replying to people by name that attack me. And when I do commentary, I won't just go after an individual because in reality, it's not fair. Even I don't think that's fair because more than one guy will be doing the bad behavior. So why identify that one guy? Because then I guess you could see it as an attack. And what does the audience do with that, Black Rose? And here's why I think it's bad public communication. If I say a guy's name, say I make a really good point. So I'm making a good point in my commentary on the community. I make a good point, a point that you might think that's pretty powerful. That's a good point, Stephen. I'm like, yeah. If I say someone's name, what do they do with that? Now it's an attack. Now it's drama. And now my point will be ignored. It will be painted as a personal attack on somebody. And whatever strong point I made is socially ignored. So it's bad for public communication on top of everything else to ever target one individual person. Right. And I like my points to stand. I think they're social. It's called social pressure, Black Rose. Not many guys do it. I do it. So I don't mind doing it here and there throughout my content. It's called social pressure. And I think it's okay. And you notice people say my name all the time. Why do I support them calling me out of some things? Not on lies or personal real attacks like insults, but just say they're criticizing how I behave. They'll all notice I don't say anything. Because even if I don't agree with them, the concept is I believe they're in the right to put social pressure on me. Even if I think they're wrong on something, maybe at one point they'll be right. And do they have the right to put social pressure on me if I'm behaving badly? I'm a public figure, of course. And if I'm a public figure, I don't dox people. I don't want to fight you at a place. I don't want to have that type of issue. I just think I'm a public figure. You have the right to speak about me. And if I don't want to be talked about that way, I should keep to myself. I should keep my opinions to myself and shut up. So I just say to people if they're in these public arguments, it's like, dude, I'm going to come criticize because I think it's good to put social pressure on the overall communities, not thinking I can control a narrative. And I don't want to force anybody to do anything or make a law or rule. But I think social pressure to get people to say they're embarrassed about their own behavior. Well, they can still do what they want, but wouldn't it be good to get them to want to adjust on their own? Not by law, not by rules. But there's why we were talking about the mold. And yes, tonight, comedy game, Teenagers from Outer Space, another crazy Mike Pondsmith game during the experimental old school era. Now, you can play Aliens the game, and it is focused on teenagers. And Mike Pondsmith really does look for a certain type of, like, my advice and my talk is going to be focused on what Mike Pondsmith wanted to get from the game. But understand his view of teenagers is not like real life teenagers, not like you go back to the 80s and 90s because it's the teenagers we're talking about. It's not like the dark side of teenagers. It's like the commercial side. So go back to like American movies and that in the, what you would call like in the 80s and 90s about teenagers. And I mean more popular commercial teenage movies. And this is the type of teenage character they're focused on. So it's a sort of look at teenage, the commercial version. So they have some weird things. Language used in it is a little weird. Like the combat system is called the bonk system. Or bonk index or something. Skills are called clanks. Or the clank system or something. I get the language written down just off the top of my head. It's a little weird. Mike Pondsmith was known for this, so he did some successful things. Oh, of course. Respectful Stephen. You want to know why? You got to. I think it's healthy to talk about these things, but do it in a way where you're choosing not to cross the line. So it's like, I get where Star Blazer comes from. I don't actually. I was there, as you know, Black Rose, and I've not been perfect. I don't pretend to be perfect either, but you can feel a certain way, but you do got to learn to mature, improve, and grow. And it doesn't mean you shut your mouth, but you got to learn how to speak properly. You got to become a man in the process. Grow the fuck up. And there's always time to learn, right? So do I pretend that I was perfect even 5 years ago, 4 years ago? No, absolutely not, right? I'm always learning. But I've learned that it's no good to hate people if really you're just looking at bad behavior and going, do I really hate this guy over here? No. But do I think it's good for the overall hobby to have a standard? And how many people are speaking up? Almost nobody. And the less we speak up, the worse the behavior gets. The more attention you give the behavior, the bad behavior, the less people want to do it. That's a good thing. So I think that's important. But so this whole Teenager from Outer Space was inspired by a gag anime. So it is a bit about comedy, but don't think of like you need to be a player, a professional comedian as a player. The game is going to offer you the ridiculousness, and the idea from that is it should be funny, right? And you can play aliens, so you can play aliens or human teenagers, and they like little things like there's a focus on driving being important, but there's also a focus on parents. So if you're playing teenagers, like the relationship with your parents is important. How you deal with authority figures like teachers, the police is important. Combat's not extremely important in the game, but it exists. But it's not a major focus. And Mike Pondsmith was weird like this. He did games like this where it wasn't your D&D game. You weren't going into a dungeon to fight for things and level up. Like this doesn't have like a leveling system that way. Right? It's made to give you a certain unique experience. And Mike Pondsmith could be straightforward with Cyberpunk and had some hits. But he got games like this and Castle Punkenstein where it was just, he wanted some really strange experiences. And you don't know if it's going to hit on the market. So think about it like an experimenting time. Is this going to hit with young people? What if I bring up this teenager game? Will it be a hit? I'll make it funny. Well, they don't know. They don't know the market that well. Was it a major hit? No. Did it have some continuation? Like I ran the second edition. There was another edition that came out later. I just never bothered with it, so I don't know much about it. But there was something that came out later. I don't know if it was like the late 90s or early 2000s. But I mean, I forget. I forget exactly when it came out. I don't know. I never bothered with it, and I never looked into it at all. But I mean, is it a big seller? I would say no. Mike Pondsmith was known for this, though. He liked to do strange games that we're going to see if they work. It's not that. I get what you're saying. It is. If you knew the gag anime, you'd understand a little better. But I'll give you it simple. It is about human teenagers and aliens, and then the way the aliens can appear, and the strange way they look at humans. The strange way. But yeah, in a few minutes here, well, soon, not just a few minutes, but very soon, I will start the coverage. Start the coverage. We'll get into it. The fluff. It'll be a little crazy. A lot of weird mechanics. Different. But it should be interesting. And reminder, tomorrow is the interview with AJ Pickett. That will be fun. Reading about his superhero game, which is a lot of random character creation with charts, right? The game is pretty simple. You do a lot of D20 rolling, but there's like D4 and D6s with extremes. Some parts of the game are either you describe what's happening and you only roll when necessary. Usually when you do roll, there's a lot of charts you're going to be feeding off of. So rolls are minimal. I think that's on purpose. And I would say it's almost like a bit like a roll master in a certain way. I would say have a good board or have a bunch of things ready. So the tables that you need to roll on, they're just right there, handy. Maybe like a good DM board might be good. Oh, I hear you. And tomorrow we'll be sitting intently like a good audience member. I hear you. We'll have a good Palladium talk, but we'll talk about his game. I don't want to give too much away about his game, but I've been reading through it. And the ideas are really nifty. I want him to go into the ideas, but as far as understanding some of the basics, he purposely made it basic. And I get why. It's meant to be easy, roll up character creation. I get that. Makes sense to me. That's what he's going. A few choices, but a lot of roll random to make your character pretty quick. Game mechanics, very light. Though there's a lot of charts. I wouldn't say a ton, but the expectation of how often you got to roll is pretty low. There's a lot of things where the game master can just say, yeah, you do this, or let things go. Or if you're role playing it out, a lot of things can be accepted. But then when you finally do get a roll, it's like a less extreme version of like a little bit of like the roll master chart thing. I don't think it's bad though. I think it's it's good for a con. But my heads up to any game master, I obviously think AJ would agree with me, is the gameplay charts. You should have like a screen or something where it's like the charts can be this. You can make them this small or something. But like the charts are like here, just so you can access them when there's a dice roll. Now, once you get used to it, some of those rolls are easy. So there's a lot of easiness to it, but then where you get the complication, which I think he does this on purpose, it's a mix of easy character creation, simplistic way of using dice, but the complexity to his game, the complexity comes in the chart format. Like once you get to the charts, that's where making a character, there's the complexity, but it's easy to make character. But the complexity is built in a different way. So it's like it's not like a lot that you got to read, but I sort of get it. The idea is it's a mix of simplified format, but then he brings the complications that you might want in a more straightforward way. So it's, in many ways, I'd almost look at Rollmaster and say it's a simplification of that with a superhero game. Not bad. Not bad, and you could easily, quickly make a character. And because the rules are so easy to understand, it wouldn't be hard explaining what players have to do. There's not like a lot they'd have to understand the role. The only complicated part is access to the charts, though it's not like meant to be like a big book or something. So in many ways, the charts should be easy to access most of the time, but you can speed that up, I would say. If it was in person with a DM screen, or even having like notes, like where it's paper, where the charts are just like you shrink the charts down to like a smaller size and put like 4 charts on one, 4 charts here, and then go. And you don't even have to roll that often. The idea is to cut back on rolling by making a lot of the game descriptive, and unless it's fully necessary for a dice roll, if a game master feels like they can say yes to something, say yes. That's the idea of the game. I think it's just common sense. It's just like, you let that happen? Yeah, sure, that happens. Okay, no dice roll. But when you finally have to hit the dice roll, that's when you get it. But not in a negative sense. Then it brings in the complication that the nerd might want to have in the game. So if you're looking for it not to be too simple, that's the way of balancing in complicate stuff into the game. Now that's just a basic rundown of his game. I mean, he might paint it up differently, but I think I got that right. It is the details that bring the flavor to the game. And that's where I'll let him go on a bit more about that when we talk tomorrow about the game. But I'll let him flavor it up. Because I got a lot more reading to do to understand or even remind myself, like, he'll know the power is better than me, right? I read over something, like if I went back to one section, I can't remember everything even there because there's a lot. Like, it's not a big thing, but when you get to like, what are all the different things here? There's a lot. There's just like a lot of these little this, like 3 lines of things. Each one will have sort of a title, an explanation, all cool gimmicks. Can I remember every single one? No, not off the top of my head. What I could memorize was from reading it was understand the basic gameplay and the concept. So I have a better understanding. More often than not, you're in the game, you'll be rolling a D20, but there's a lot of D100 charts. So it's not like D100 versus target number type of game, but it is a lot of chart stuff. Right. Just saying. That's it. I don't want to. I'm saying that basic stuff. I don't want to downplay this game. I think the simplicity is cool. I think there's a lot of cool things, and it's unfair because there's some parts in the game that I might not totally understand. So I'll let him clarify everything, right? But I've been doing a lot of reading. A lot. I have the 2 players so far that pretty much will have characters by tomorrow for sure. Poor Bill Shear, I think he'll be around for more streams, but his work had to adjust, so he's not able to play Mondays. So he had to back out. But we got 2 warriors so far. I don't know if the 3rd person Fox will even make a character. We'll see. She's a game master, Black Rose, and Star. I don't flake. But I've had some players over the years. I'm not saying Bill Flake, but it can happen. We get flaky flakes. Flaky flakes. Flaky flakes. And this is why I put pressure on things. Because pressure helps me figure out who's to flake. I hate bringing somebody in at the last minute, half-assing into the game, and then they'll just show up when they want to play. It's like, dude, I don't do that. Serious campaign here. I need to put small test up to make sure you're the person I'm looking for. Minor test. Minor pressures helps. It's going to be the last one, though, guys. I'll let you know this. After this, I will start the coverage of the game. Very unique game. It sounds so simple. I think part of me would think, to a lot of people, it will sound like a stupid game or something on the name of it. Teenagers from Outer Space. It's going to be boring. It's like, well, I only ran it twice. I'll be honest with you guys. It's not something I went back to. And yeah, Black Rose, it is sad to hear. I wanted Bill to play. Bill's a good gamer. I thought me and him would fit, but you do got to get people that are just going to want to be serious. And I'm not saying Bill wouldn't be serious. It could just be the work thing. I'm not like a Fox. I hope he makes a character. But I got to put some pressure on, man. These are, it's like, hey, don't bring something to me at last minute. You're adults. You're kids. So I got to get at people, make sure there's no bad behavior type of thing. That's all it is. See if they respect the process. I worked 14 hours on the campaign over a few weeks. So, I mean, when I put my work in properly as a DM, as a game master, I don't fuck around. And when I go to run a game, it can be a campaign that can last a year. So I want people that are just going to be serious about that stuff. They take it serious, getting their characters done, show up on time, right? Like it's finding the right players that are not flaky. And there's over the years, as much as I think there's a lot of good people out there, Black Rose, there's a lot of good people that are good people still, but flaky anyway. Doesn't make them bad people, but there's some flaky people in the hobby. And some people are flaky depending on who you are. It's like I've said this before. There's nuance to players. I could be like, there's players I know that would go into a DM's game and they could be disrespectful, right? Because that guy doesn't, he lets people walk on him. Same player comes to my game, that guy will watch that player respect me the entire time. Why? Because when that player showed up, he knew Steven was strict. Steven put his fucking foot up my ass. Steven put his foot down. Set standards. And from the get-go, that guy is either he's going to walk or he'll straighten up his behavior, right? There were many phases. So at times, people are forced to be flaky up. Yep. Sometimes people are just flaky without an excuse. Or they even make up excuses that aren't really real. Like they'll commit to something and then, hey, you got to get a character done by like Sunday. Then they're not doing it. They're looking at YouTube videos. They're just not making the character. They're just not jumping over to read the thing. And then the pressure becomes too much for them and they'll back up. Some people will be like, they could have 2 weeks to make a character, have all the time in the world, and the day of the game, about an hour before, they're like, oh, fuck it, I'll play. I'll rush to make the character. Here's a half-assed version of the character not completed. I'm passing in 10 minutes beforehand. I'm like, dude, that person is a person I will not agree to Game Master. Because in my opinion, that's disrespect to the effort I put in. And it tells me you don't take what we're doing serious. So that's just a very disrespectful way. You've had what? Some cases it could be like 2 weeks for somebody. And they've half-assed the entire time, and then last minute they go, okay, I want to play. It's like, dude, you had 2 weeks. And it's in most cases I'm dealing with adults right? Even if you're a mature teenager, I expect you to get shit done. So it's just like it's one of those things. So that's a big red flag for me. And sometimes I'll accept people might be telling you the truth. And I'd say 60% of the time it could be the truth. But you got to be real with yourself too, Black Rose. 40% of the time, people are full of shit. And it's you just got to go, look, I don't hold it against anybody. I just don't get mad. I just go, honest or full of shit. Maybe you're being honest. I'm not going to hate anybody. I'm not going to hate the guy who's full of shit. I'm not going to hate the honest person either. I'm just going to go, here's what you got to do. That's it. Both of you. That's my requirement. And this one I just made, it's like, make it by Sunday, man. That's a day before. It gives me time. And if I know you're committed to getting it done by then, well, I know you're seriously going to play the game. That's a good start. And it doesn't mean that person won't flake out either, Black Rose. I'm a public game master, understand, right? It doesn't mean that person won't, but it's now your gambling chances that they won't go up. So it's like if they half-ass coming in, chance that they flake on other things going forward, highly likely. Most cases. I ran for thousands of players. Pretty consistent thing, right? Pretty fucking vastly consistent thing. Once you go through it over 1,000 or so times, you stop this guessing game, right? Oh, I hear you. It doesn't mean everybody. In reality, Black Rose, I'd say 60% to 70% of people, most people are good. But, and so yeah, but I mean, this is even true in the old school. It's just that you do get that 30 to 40% that are just people just always being this way in the hobby. And some of them will just be half-assed people that are nice. And then you get all kinds of versions of people, like even like the assholes. They're a minority, but you got to know of them, and you got to make sure they don't wreck things. And so you got to be able to see things. And when you've encountered most of them, or when you've encountered them, and there's consistency to, it's called like evidential profiling. That's what I've done. So when you dealt with thousands of players like I have, you go, what is a consistent thing with a certain kind of player that if every other good player doesn't do this thing? And it's consistent, almost on the mark every time with a certain kind of player. So there's certain things when I see it now, it's just like, dude, 100% of the guys that do that are bad. And I've been doing this since 1991, and I don't think today is going to suddenly change. Like, I just think, oh, he's done the bad thing. Okay, yep. Okay, let me put some pressure on that right away. It's pretty consistent. Decent players there's a consistent behavior with them, and you can trust it. It's called evidential profiling. Right, it's really easy to see, especially when you dealt with thousands of people like I have. Right, see, you just stop playing games, and I'm 46 years of age too, so I'm at the age where it's just like, instead of I don't get time to experiment like I'm 20. So now when something's obvious, instead of playing nice guy about it, like, well, you might be. I just put pressure. I found a neutral way to do it though. Like, how do I put pressure without hating whoever? And it's like looking at, well, how do the decent people react? Well, look, I hate putting pressure on them, but they react well to it. Bad players don't. Okay, let's go with the social conflict. I'll put the pressure out there. Good players will come through. Bad players won't. And then the odd ones will be honest. Like, you do get this thing where people are just job is a situation in life. I don't mind that. That's occasionally what it is. So it's just about, you can't know. I can't know. And I'm meeting strangers. So it's just like, I just go, okay, I just put the same pressure on everyone. And it's not a personal thing. It's not an attack on anyone. It's just like, hey, this is what it is. Come through or don't. And I don't assume your reasons. I'm not mad at you if you flake out on me. It's like, okay, I'm not making it. All right, cool. But I've just gotten to that point where it's just you got to see nuance. And when I was 20, I remember I spent like the first 10 years being really, really reasonable with people. And you pay a price too, socially. It kills time that you don't want to kill. Taking chance on people harms campaigns you don't want it to harm. It harms games long term, right? Does all that stuff. And like when you've had a bad experience over and over and over again, you get to the point where you just don't want to keep having it because you know how horrible that thing is, right? You just don't want to repeat that thing again. So I get stage now where I just go, what do I do to avoid most of it? But okay, here we are. Here we are. All right. It is time to start. Influences and birth of the game Teenagers from Outer Space. Made originally in 1987. That's the first edition. And then had a second edition come out in 1989. The origins. Teenagers from Outer Space was designed by Mike Pondsmith and published by Al Talsorian Games in 1987. Before creating the game, Pondsmith had already designed Mechton, a giant robot RPG inspired by Japanese animation. His interest in anime was unusual among North American RPG designers at the time, when the medium was still largely unknown outside dedicated fan circles. The game took that interest in a completely different direction. Instead of giant robots and action, Pondsmith set out to capture the humor, chaos, and unpredictability of anime high school comedies. The original game carried the subtitle, The Very Weird Role-Playing Game. That subtitle perfectly summarized its design philosophy. Teenagers from Outer Space wasn't trying to be a serious science fiction game and embraced absurd situations. What do you call crazy, insane characters? That's the way I would put it. You know, exaggerated characters and comedic storytelling where the goal was to entertain everyone at the table rather than simulate reality. The biggest inspiration, the game's primary inspiration was, now I'm gonna chop some names up here because it's Japanese names, which I'm not good at pronouncing. Rumiko Takahashi Urusei Yatsura. The series follows an ordinary high school student whose life is thrown into constant chaos after becoming entangled with an alien girl. Everyday school life collides with bizarre extraterrestrial events, producing a mix of romance, misunderstandings, slapstick comedy, and escalating absurdity. The game adopts this same spirit. Players might be ordinary teenagers, alien exchange students, robots, psychic beings, or other unusual characters trying to survive school while creating or trying to contain one outrageous situation after another. Other influences. While Urusei Yatsura was the game's defining influence, the game also reflects elements common to American teen comedies, school sitcoms, cartoon slapstick, science fiction parody. The emphasis throughout is on humor, improvisation, and over-the-top situations, rather than realism or dramatic storytelling. Although the title resembles the 1959 science fiction film Teenagers from Outer Space, the RPG was inspired by a Japanese anime rather than that movie. Why it was different. When Teenagers from Outer Space was released in 1987, most role-playing games centered on fantasy adventures, military or space science fiction, horror, or post-apocalyptic survival. This game instead focused on the everyday problems of teenagers, made much stranger by alien visitors and bizarre technology. Adventures often revolved around surviving another day at school, trying to impress a romantic interest, avoiding embarrassing parents, dealing with alien costumes, preventing small misunderstandings from becoming outrageous disasters. Combat existed, but it wasn't the focus. The game's real strength lay in comedy, role-playing in unpredictable situations. Anime before it was mainstream. One of the game's most important contributions is its timing. In 1987, anime had only a small following in North America. Most tabletop players had little or no exposure to Japanese animation beyond a handful of imported or localized series. By building an RPG around anime comedy instead of a fantasy or giant robots, the game became one of the earliest commercially successful tabletop role-playing games to embrace anime as its central inspiration. It demonstrated that anime-inspired RPGs could support genres beyond mecha and help lay the groundwork for later games such as Big Eyes and Smallmouth. R. Talsorian's early direction. The game also illustrates the creative direction of R. Talsorian's games during its early years. Rather than specializing in a single genre, the company experimented with a wide variety of games. Remember, I said this experimental timeline at this time. Around the same period, R. Talsorian published Mech-Type, an anime about giant robots, Teenagers from Outer Space, anime high school comedy, cyberpunk, dark futuristic science fiction. This willingness to explore very different genres helped establish the publisher as one of the more innovative RPG companies of the late 1980s. Now, the second edition, which is what I am going to mainly cover here for the rest of this. The second edition, 1989. The 1989 second edition was not a redesign of the game. Instead, it redefined the presentation by expanding the rulebook, improving organization and layout, adding artwork and examples, clarifying portions of the text. The underlying mechanics remained essentially unchanged, making the second edition an expanded and polished version of the original rather than a new game. Why it matters. Teenagers from Outer Space remains historically significant because it helped introduce anime-inspired role-playing to a Western tabletop role-playing audience. Demonstrated that comedy could successfully serve as the foundation of an RPG. Showed that memorable campaigns could revolve around humor, relationships, and everyday problems instead of combat and epic quest. Established itself as one of the earliest and most influential anime-themed tabletop RPGs, paving the way for later games in the genre. You might say Toon and other games also laid groundwork for comedy, but of course it's going to make its claims here. I want to note that it's Mike Pondsmith goes for a certain experience and feel, right? It's an odd take, but here we go. Okay, let's go into how to run Teenagers from Outer Space, 1989 second edition. How to run it. Running Teenagers from Outer Space requires a different mindset from running most RPGs. The GM is not primarily creating a realistic science fiction universe. The GM is creating an experience of a comedy series where teenagers deal with everyday problems, aliens make those problems stranger, ordinary situations spiral into ridiculous events, characters solve problems through creativity, personality, and luck. The rules support this style, but the GM is what creates the tone. Understand what kind of game you are running. The first step is understanding what this game is not. So you got to accept what it is, but then you really got to understand what you're not running like a fighting game. Like it's there, but you got to understand you're not doing that. You got to, as I would say, understand what the designer wants, because Mike Pondsmith is a really unique guy. So he has, man, if you're going to be fair to his games and trying to get what he wants out of the game, what he wants you to get out of the game, you got to really take in what he's saying. And then you got to marry what he's asking you to mirror. Right? If not, a lot of his games could become stupid to you or generic. They might not even be appealing, even if you do what he says. But he has a very weird take on a lot of things. It is not primarily a space exploration game, a military science fiction campaign, an alien invasion survival game, a realistic future simulation. The science exists to create unusual situations. The real focus is school, friends, parents, dating, popularity, embarrassment, trying to fit in. The alien element makes normal teenage problems impossible. A character is not asking, how do we defeat the alien threat? They're often asking, how do I explain this alien to my parents before dinner? Start with normal problems. The best the best adventures for this game usually begin with something ordinary. Examples: a school dance, a test, a driver's license, a date, a club meeting, a family event, a school competition. So think teenagers, right? Very basic stuff. And on purpose, he wants you to do this on purpose. This is the intent for the game. Then introduce something strange. Examples: the new student is an alien. The science project accidentally works. A character's alien friend misunderstands human customs. A family discovers their neighbor is from another planet. The humor comes from the contrast between ordinary and the impossible. Let the characters create the story. Teenagers from outer space characters are designed to create complications. In many RPGs, players ask, how can I become powerful? In this game, the better question is, what makes this character difficult to deal with? A character's ability should create opportunities for stories. Example: a brilliant alien inventor can solve impossible problems, create even bigger problems, or maybe a beautiful alien gains attention easily, accidentally causes social chaos. Or maybe a powerful alien can handle danger, has no understanding of human behavior. The weakness of a character concept is often where the fun begins. So it's like the difficulties, it's one thing he's powerful, but he doesn't understand human behavior. So what does that mean? He's insulted by something. He's going to insult you. Like the weaknesses and misunderstandings, they cause the flavor, the drama. They bring the ridiculous. They cause the issues. They make things hard, right? They make the game in that way not generic. That's the aim here, right? Use a character sheet as a story generator. This game has unusual statistics because the game cares about teenage life. A GM should pay attention to relationships with parents. And there's rules on this. Parents should matter. They create situations involving rules, curfews, permission, responsibility, explaining strange events. A character may survive an alien encounter, but fail the more difficult challenge, convincing their parents nothing happened. Driving. Vehicles are not just transportation. Driving creates classic teenage situations. Borrowing a car, learning to drive, showing off, road trips, vehicle disaster. A car scene can become just as important as an alien encounter. Luck. Luck should feel like a coincidence, absurd fortune. A lucky character does not simply get bonuses. They create moments where the impossible happens, the right thing appears at the wrong time, a ridiculous plan somehow works. Looks and cool. Social situations matter. A character's appearance and confidence can affect relationships, reputations, school situations. Not every challenge should be solved through fighting or intelligence. Knacks. Okay, knacks are the game's versions of skills. They call them knacks. Use knacks to encourage personality. Knacks should be treated as an expression of the character. A GM should reward creative use of knacks skills. A knack should answer, What is this person known for? Examples: instead of computer skills, a character in this game, might have a knack. Their knack might be build devices that should not exist instead of driving. The character in this game, it might be drive like a maniac, right? Knacks are opportunities for players to define who their characters are. So it's like, okay, you got driving, but what are you good at? Racing, driving crazy. It's you emphasize the knack, the skill to say something about who your character is. Make aliens truly different. Aliens should not just be humans with unusual powers. Their differences should create situations. A good alien character might have strange assumptions, different social rules, confusing biology, completely different ideas about normal behavior. The question is not how powerful is this alien. The question is what happens when this alien interacts with humans. So it's like imagine if the alien thought spitting, they spit in each other's face as a way of saying hi. But I'm using just an off the top thing in my head, but it's like this is how ridiculous the game is meant to be. Say to the aliens, that might be completely like we're just swapping, right? That's how they say hi to each other. You're like, you spit in my face. Like you get what I'm saying? It's like they don't understand that there's a huge difference between them and humans, or even their understanding of what human behavior is or what they accept, right? Use alien appearance categories. Alien appearance affects how the world reacts. There's rules to all this, and I will go over some of the mechanics in a bit. So our alien appearance affects how the world reacts near humans. These aliens can usually blend into society. Their differences may only appear through small details. So some aliens might appear really human, right? Then there's not very humans. These aliens clearly look different. Their presence may create attention or confusion. Real weirdies. Now, real weirdies, the language they use in this game is funny. Real weirdies. Real weird. So this is another type of alien. These aliens are obviously strange. They are walking sources of unusual situations. A GM should use these differences when creating scenes. Gave me a flashback to Alien and Peter Jackson's Bad Taste. And Mike Pondsmith is using language here where I don't know if they're either trying just to reflect, like give you the feel of teenagers, so they're talking like teenagers, or maybe that he actually expects that some teenager will play the game, and they're trying to be cool. Like one version of Aliens called Real Weirdies. Okay, human fake code, a signature tool in this game. Human fake code is one of the game's defining ideas. Aliens often assume humans understand Earth better than they do. This allows humans to create ridiculous explanations that aliens may believe. Examples: all humans must wear a helmet during math class. Or Earth celebrations require everyone to dance with furniture. Or another one: everyone on Earth has a personal volcano. The important part is not simply telling the jokes. The important part is creating situations where the misunderstandings develop into an adventure. It's like, where do we find the furniture that we dance with? Manage chaos instead of eliminating it. This game should be chaotic. However, chaos still needs direction. Good chaos: give every player something to do. Create new problems. Highlight characters. Bad chaos: one player dominates every scene. Randomness replaces creativity. The story becomes impossible to follow. The GM's job is to not stop chaos, it is to shape it. So basically, keep things understood and organized. So as the story gets crazy, it's like reminding people what has happened so far. So you guys went over here, you've done this, now you're finally out here, just to keep people reminding what they've done even to get up to the craziness. Why they're there. Like it's sort of, the game master's job is to keep everything in their mind organized so they know, even if it's ridiculous, they know how you got to this step. And they know how that crazy step goes to the next step. And they keep players informed during the session. So the players don't have to remember everything. And all they know is, I'm in this crazy situation. The game master has to remind, remember, well, like 2 hours earlier, your characters were like just hanging out at a shop. Oh, yeah. That's all we were doing, right? Yeah. And now here you are at this crazy moment. Social conflicts matter. One of the biggest differences between teenagers from outer space and many RPGs, social problems are real problems. Challenges can involve impressing someone, avoiding embarrassment, getting permission, handling parents, surviving school events, managing relationships. The same creativity used in adventure should apply to everyday life. Combat and conflict. Combat exists, but it should not become the center of the game. Avoid turning this game into a tactical combat game, a weapon comparison game, a damage optimization exercise. Conflict should create memorable scenes. Bonk, we'll get to that in a second. Bonk supports this. A character losing a conflict means being knocked out, being embarrassed, being temporarily removed, almost like Toon, right? Not killed. Suffering a ridiculous consequence. It does not mean the tone suddenly becomes dark and realistic. Bonk's Index is the game's cartoon-style durability system. So think of this game leaning more into the, we don't care about character death as much as we were leaning into the Toon type of gameplay. And you guys know I've covered Toon. Where Toon, you can get yourself knocked out of a scene for a period of time. You're not really dead. You're just sort of out. You're out cold. You're out this. That's what the Bonk system is. Use Bonk creatively. Bonk is a storytelling tool. Do not describe every result as simple damage examples. Instead of you lose 3 Bonk, describe being launched through a wall, getting covered in alien slime, being stuck upside down, being defeated by embarrassment. The consequence should fit the comedy. So you might have lost some Bonk, but don't think of Bonk as just like physical damage. Bonk is just, man, the higher the you only have so much, but the higher you take, it's like, okay, now you're hung upside down. You're looking like a fool. Maybe you did go through some type of fence. Equipment and alien technology. Gadgets should create situations. The most interesting device is not always the strongest. A machine that works perfectly may be less entertaining than a device with unexpected results. An invention that solves one problem and creates another. Alien technology, humans misunderstand. Building campaigns. This game works extremely well as an episodic game. Think of sessions like episodes, because it is based off sort of like an anime, like, the episodes of an anime. Examples, episode ideas: a new alien student, a school dance disaster, an alien exchange program, the parent problem, the road trip, the science fair catastrophe. Each session should create a memorable situation. The best way to run Teenagers from Outer Space is to remember, the alien invasion is not always the problem. The problem might be explaining the alien to your parents, getting through school without embarrassment, keeping your car intact, surviving a date. The mechanics, aliens, and comedy all exist to support one central idea. Being a teenager is already complicated. Adding aliens just makes everything much stranger. Now, some of the advice might sound very generic, but I'm trying to give you advice that plays to what Mike Pondsmith wants you to get from the game. Right? This is the way he wants you to run the game. These are the principles, these are the things, and this is the way he perceives it. Right? These are teenagers. You're really running, like, think of a teenage world where you're bringing in this complication of aliens, and it's meant to cause the crap you think, but it's teenagers, It's a comedy. It's sort of commercial. It's not like the dark side. You're not meant to get into something serious. This isn't like thinking about like kids getting, teenagers getting pregnant, right? You're or on drugs. That type of real life type of dark element is to be ignored. Right. You're doing a show that's meant to be entertaining and not dig into these subjects, not be something you focus on in the game. So it's, teenagers might be like, okay, and it's turning things that shouldn't be this casual into this casual. Like you like hanging out with the alien. He's cool. But I mean, what if the parents find out? So there's a bit of realism in the idea of what if the authority figures out that will take it serious? Like the adult will be like, oh my alien. What the fuck? And so there's an element of it, like we know that exists. And even though the game doesn't exactly focus on it, it focuses on like if the parents find out, oh man, all this seriousness can come in the situation, right? Can be into it. Okay, we're at halftime. Fluff and how to run it done. Next, now, let me go over a few little notes here. 1 second. Just listening, make sure people aren't going crazy. Just to let you know, this is a D6 mechanic. Like you can add stat and the knack skill system onto it and all this. But it's a pretty simple dice system. Just there, I'll mention that part. Now we're at halftime. Halftime is Joe Rogan. Break time for a second. Next bit I'll go into right after this is character creation and advice. The setting, which it doesn't really have a pure setting, but it's how it uses setting. We'll go into that. And then I got a few other notes after that just to sort of go over like, worth mentioning stuff. And that will be it. That's the game. It's not an extreme game with a lot of stuff in it. So I don't want to pretend it is. But is it interesting? Yes. It's interesting. Am I going to lie to you and sell this as some great game? No. Was it interesting for me when I ran it for the people I ran it for? Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Definitely. Would it appeal to younger people now? Probably more than, say, even when it came out. I would actually say so, because it does lean into a lot of the stuff that became, especially in the West, a lot of stuff that he mentions is stuff that it's happening in Japan in the anime, but these high school comedy gimmicks won't become more popular for another like 10 or so years. Like they'll become popular, and even today some of these stuff is still popular with young people watching anime. But you just got to remember, Mike Pondsmith was so ahead of his time that anime wasn't really established in a big way at the time when he was doing this. He was watching this odd stuff, and he definitely got hooked on it, which totally get it. Fucking great stuff. But he got hooked on it and then wanted to express that here. But he was a super nerd. Mike Pondsmith was awesome. Probably, again, like I said at the start of the stream, and I don't say this as any insult on him, but a very creative, very weird, extreme nerd who loved a lot of things. And I can relate because I felt the same way when I was young, when I got into this hobby. I was a guy who was into a lot of weird ideas. I was reading like weird games. And that's why I really leaned into a lot of what Mike Pondsmith was doing. Cyberpunk, but this stuff too. All kinds of stuff he did. I just felt I had to try. Because I already had the weird mind for it anyway. Like, I want to try everything. It could be challenging. Like, this game, I was lucky to have players that would play it, but I could only get players to play it twice. And then everybody wanted to play different stuff. So it wasn't like popular like D&D. All right, it wasn't. You can get people into it for a minute, but it's a game, I'd say, not as when it comes to comedy and screwing around and drinking and having a good night with your friends. I would honestly, between all of us, I would pitch Tune, the game Tune that I covered, as a more casual, fun, sit back and play with your family type of game, right? Because it's cartoons and it hits all ages. This one's a bit more unique, but it leans into the Tune stuff a little bit. Though I think Tune is better on this stuff in general. Like it's going to hit with more people. But I demand this. And you can't go into it going, oh, there's no character death in here and care. It just doesn't matter. It's not made for that. It's not at all. It's not made for that stuff. It is made for, like, if you lose your points, you get knocked out for a while. You could be out of a scene. The game master could enforce that your character is going to be out for a scene or maybe two before they can return. Like they're knocked out long enough, they're going to be, they're not going to be in the scene or in the next bit of stuff that's going to happen, right? Or whatever, or they got trapped or something like that, right? But they could be out for a minute. That's how that works. Sometimes you could just have it where the character comes back with all their points back in place, or maybe half of them. Depends on how the game master wants to play that out. Right? There's no hard rule on that either, right? So, like difficulty and resolution, the GM determines how difficult an action is. Difficulty depends on the circumstances, the character's abilities, whether a knack skill applies, whether the situation makes actions easier or harder. This game expects the judgment and improvisation from the GM. The rules are there to support what's going on, not to slow it down. Again, not to slow it down. Remember, pace is still important even in this. Don't be looking at the game, just make a lot of decisions like rulings over rules. There are 8 character stats, just to be clear, well, because we're going into character creation. So there's like BOD. BOD represents physical capability. It covers strength, physical actions, athletics, physical challenges. A high BOD character might be naturally athletic, physically powerful, built differently because of alien biology, for example. Smarts. Smarts represents intelligence and mental ability. It covers knowledge, reasoning, problem solving, understanding technology. A high smarts character might be a genius student, an inventor, a scientific expert. However, the game recognizes that being intelligent does not prevent bad choices. A brain teenager can still create a disaster. Looks. Looks represent appearance and social appeal. It covers attractiveness, popularity, personal presence. Looks can help characters gain attention, but attention can also create problems. Luck. Luck represents improbable circumstances working in the character's favor. It reflects the game's cartoon and anime inspiration. Luck represents unexpected opportunities, things somehow working out. It helps create the feeling that the game takes place in a universe where the impossible things happen regularly. Cool. Cool represents confidence and composure. It covers staying calm, handling pressure, maintaining confidence, dealing with embarrassing situations. In a teenage comedy game, reputation and confidence matters. So, relationship with the parents. So, RWP. This game includes the statistics specifically about the character's relationship with authority at home. Relationship with the parents represents how much freedom the character has, how parents react to their actions, getting permission, avoiding punishment. This is one of the game's clearest examples of using teenage life as a mechanical element. Driving. Driving is a unique game statistic because the game focuses on teenagers. Vehicles are part of the setting. Driving covers operating vehicles, car-related situations, vehicle stunts, teenage transportation problems. This is a good example of the game's choosing genre relevance over traditional RPG design. A fantasy game may have a weapon skill. This game has driving. Social conflict. One of the game's biggest differences is that not every conflict is physical. Teenage problems can be just as important as fights, examples, embarrassment, social disasters, the parents' social problems or school problems, romantic complications. The game treats these situations as legitimate challenges. Now, I've already went over equipment in that. It's like equipment and gadgets. Equipment exists, but it's not handled like traditional treasure systems. Important equipment includes alien technology, strange inventions, vehicles, gadgets. Items can have mechanical effects, but their biggest purpose is creating situations. A device that causes unexpected problems may be more interesting than a perfectly functioning device for the game. So there you go. There's the under the hood, some of the mechanic stuff. It's very important. And the game is a D6 game, but I mean they've tossed around, they've used D10 at times in different versions of the game. So D6 is the focus here. Okay. This is character creation for second edition. This game does not use classes or levels. Characters are created as individuals. The process includes determining statistics, choosing human or alien, selecting knacks, skills, determining alien abilities, developing the character concept. Character creation mixes player choice with randomness. The randomness is intentional. This game wants characters who feel unusual rather than perfectly optimized. Alien characters. Aliens are one of the biggest mechanical differences between this game and other RPGs. Alien characters can have strange biology, unique powers, unusual appearances, special abilities. Aliens are not designed like balanced fantasy races. The purpose is not what is the most efficient ability. The purpose is what happens when this strange being interacts with normal teenage life. Alien appearance categories. The game divides alien appearances into broad categories, as I already said. Near humans. These aliens appear almost human. They may only have small differences. Example, strange eyes, unusual features, minor biological differences. Not very near humans. This is the second one, as we've already discussed. These aliens are obviously different, but still somewhat humanoid. They can interact with humans, but clearly stand out. The real weirdies, as I already mentioned. These are truly strange aliens. They may look completely unlike humans. Their existence creates immediate comedy because they are impossible to ignore. Alien powers. Alien abilities can include things like flight, strange senses, shape shifting, energy abilities, other unusual powers. The rules intentionally allow creativity. Alien powers are not treated like a carefully balanced superhero system. They exist to create interesting situations. I've already went over human FACO, but here we go again. Human FACO, just to be clear, one of the game's signature mechanics is the human ability known as FACO. Humans can convince aliens of ridiculous things about Earth culture because aliens often assume humans understand their own planet. For example, on Earth, everyone wears a rubber chicken on their head during exams. Alien. Fascinating Earth custom. This mechanic captures one of the game's biggest sources of comedy. Aliens misunderstand humans, and humans take advantage of it. So the idea is it's easy to convince aliens of ridiculous things with the human characters. Play to it. That's what the game wants you to as a human character. You say things that are just outrageously silly and stupid, but the idea is to The alien's like, oh, well, cool. Like they don't know it's comedy, and there's no reason they would, right? And they take the humans they're talking to as authority figures. Creating a character in this game is not about building the strongest character possible. This is not a game where players are mainly asking, how do I maximize my abilities? The better question is, who is this person, and why is their life going to become complicated? Characters are the stars of a comedy series. Their personality, relationships, and strange situations are just as important as their abilities. Before choosing numbers or abilities, decide who this teenager is. Think about where they come from, what they want, what makes them unusual, what problems naturally follow them. A good character for this game creates story opportunities. Examples: an alien who desperately wants to understand human culture, a human who thinks aliens are completely normal, a genius who cannot understand social situations, a popular teenager hiding a strange secret. The concept comes first. Human or aliens? One of the biggest character choices in the game is deciding whether you are a human or an alien. This choice affects how your character experiences the setting. Yeah, you gotta have a mind for this stuff. Here would be my advice, Black Rose. Purposely watch stuff related to this. Like I pick a number of animes that I would put in front of you and just say, dude, spend 2 weeks and power through this stuff. Like grind. Like you'll actually be better off. Like you won't be as bad as you think. But you gotta grind. Especially if you're going to actually run for teenage players. Now, if you have adult players too, I would almost give them the same animes and just go, here, guys, watch this. And remember, you might want to pick out one or two early 90s or mid 80s teenage movies, Western movies, like American movies, and watch those as well on purpose. Now, if you did that over 2 or 3 weeks, like did it in a short run, though. Do it in a short run. Go at like Netflix, like you're just like taking in multiple episodes, taking in a movie. And if you could pull that off in a couple of weeks and just say hanging out with the kids, doing stuff like getting home and using some time to do that instead of other things, you could run this and have fun. But I mean, that'd be the only way. If not, you'd be lost on language here. Playing a human. Humans are the ordinary people in a universe full of strange beings. However, now I personally could just do this off the top of my head, so I wouldn't need to watch that stuff, but some people need the help. Humans are ordinary people in a universe full of strange beings. However, humans are not the boring option. Yeah, it would work. It's good advice for if you'd bother. I don't think you would personally, but I hope you're still interested in hearing about this. So I hope the stream is just entertaining and to hear about a weird game. And it's Mike Pondsmith. I'm teaching people more about how crazy Mike was. Right? Mike was out there. Mike Pondsmith is a little boom, but he's a creative. I love Mamo creative. I love his weirdness. I love his nerdiness. It's what brought me to a lot of his work. Right? Was that he was like this. And my mind's out there too. My mind's fucking crazy. Right? So I never looked at his games and got weirded out, like turned off. It was just more like, a little fuck, but yeah, sure, let's try it. Let's go. Let's fucking go, baby. Let's go. It's crazy. I'm fucking crazy. Let's go. Oh no. It's not interruptions, dude. Don't take, as long as you're talking to me about this stuff, not interrupt this part of the process, dude. No, but of course, take your time with the kids and all that, but no, this is not. Never see it that way. I'm happy to stop and talk to you. Legit. I'm doing this ready for the stop and talk thing. Right? It's actually part of something I want. So never think this is bad. I'm actually very happy to stop talking about it. Okay. So, humans have something aliens often lack an understanding of Earth culture. This allows humans to use fake out, as we talked about, taking advantage of alien assumptions about what is normal on Earth. A human character might convince an alien that a strange school tradition is completely normal. A ridiculous behavior is an important Earth custom. Something obvious to humans is a mystery to outsiders. The humor comes from the alien believing humans know what they are talking about. So it's because in the anime, this is exactly how the aliens react to the humans. He wants this to be a gimmick in the game. It's like, what if the alien doesn't believe it? Well, get rid of your nerdiness. The alien will believe on purpose. So just say you're playing the alien friend and your friend's playing the human. All right, when his human character says, "Here we do this," you just got to think that for whatever reason, and you got to marry this. You got to give the idea. Your character is going to accept the human teenagers he's interacting with or she's interacting with as authority figures on human culture and human behavior. You have to accept it. Playing the alien character like that, you just got to marry the idea, right? Even the NPC aliens, the game master is going to run. The game master has to marry the idea, right? So then the guys playing the human characters can start calling out, and this is meant to be fun, and that's the intent, right? So it's what do you do if you believe, right, that if you sit down your butt too long, it blows up here in this atmosphere. We can't sit down for that long, man. If we sit down for any longer, our butts are going to blow up. Just imagine another human meeting that alien. Man, we've been sitting here for like half an hour. We're here for another 15 more minutes. Our butts are going to blow up in this atmosphere. We got to get up and walk, or our butts blow up. The humans, the fuck you talk about? Our butts blow up. It is the cause of ridiculousness, and then you allow whatever to happen, right? So it's like the teacher is now talking to the alien or something, or some authority figures caught the alien, and oh man, just imagine if you said, "Here's a water gun." These water guns, what they do when you spray it in the face of adults, they forget what they were doing. And some cop is like trying to arrest the alien. Alien's like, psh. Okay, I was just here going for a walk. What are you talking about? Am I? It's meant to be that way. All right, playing an alien characters allow players to explore the stranger side of the game. When creating an alien, do not only think, what abilities do I have? Think, how does my alien nature make life on Earth complicated? Examples, an alien who misunderstands emotions, and you might purposely want to do that. Like, or there's like some type of wet stuff coming out of her eyes. Maybe she's happy. An alien who finds normal human behavior bizarre. An alien who looks intimidating but is harmless. An alien with unusual abilities but no idea how society works. The best alien characters are not just powerful, they are interesting. Like a powerful character who hates the idea of like fighting. He's like a pacifist. Like, I don't want to. Like he's actually scared of fighting, even though he can kick your ass. Actually scared of it, like somebody who can't fight. Imagine how funny that would be. He's really scared of me. Finally, the alien out of nowhere, and you like go flying through a building. You just hit that guy through a fucking building? I thought he was scared. Think about your character's place in the world. The game is not only about what your character can do. Think about your everyday life. Questions to consider. Do they attend school? Do they have a family? Do they have friends? Are they trying to fit in? Are they popular? Are they considered strange? Do they understand human behavior? The best characters have a life outside of their abilities. Choosing your character's talents or skills. This game uses knacks to represent the things your character is especially good at. However, knacks should not just feel like ordinary skills. They should describe what makes your character memorable. A simple skill, a computer skill, a more teenage from outer space style idea would be build machines that should not work. Right? It doesn't mean he purposely, but it's like this guy, every time he tries to build a machine, just doesn't, he always gets something wrong. Or a simple skill, driving. A more gaming style for this game idea would be, like I said earlier, drive like a maniac. So it's not just he drives, but he drives crazy or drives nervous. It's not just a skill, but there is something about the person and the activity. There's something a little bit more to it. A simple skill, talking. A more teenage from outer space style idea somehow gets out of trouble. A good knack tells people something about the character. Or not just basic. Use your abilities to create stories. When creating abilities, avoid only thinking about usefulness. The best ability creates situations. A strange ability should make people ask, how does this affect everyday life? How do humans react? What problems can this create? Examples. A character who can transform can solve problems, can create misunderstandings. A character who can read minds can learn secrets, can discover things they wish they had not known. A character with unusual technology can create amazing, or being able to create unusual, can create amazing solutions, can create unexpected disasters. The most memorable abilities create complications. Nothing is simple. Understand your character's personality. A character in this game should have more than powers. Think about personality. Are they confident, nervous, curious, reckless, serious, or even strange? Goals. What does your character want? Example, make friends, be popular, understand Earth, impress someone, prove themselves, have freedom. Goals give the GM material for adventures. Problems. A character should have things that make their life harder on purpose, not because the character should be weak, because problems create stories. That's why. Examples, a genius who cannot understand people that well. A powerful alien who is afraid of something silly. Like the big, powerful alien who's scared of cats, right? Or fighting. A human trying to keep an alien secret. Someone constantly getting in trouble with parents. Relationship with parents. This game treats family life as part of being a teenager. Your relationship with the parents is not just background information. It helps define how much freedom you have, how much trouble you get into, how adults react to your actions. A character may be able to handle aliens, but still struggle with explaining a destroyed room, like a bedroom. Driving in teenage life, as we already talked about, driving is another example of this game's focusing on the teenage experience. Vehicles are not just transportation, they represent independence, responsibility, freedom, trouble. A character's relationship with vehicles can become part of who they are. Creating a group of characters. In this game does not need traditional party roles. You do not need a fighter, a healer, a magic user. Instead, groups work because characters are different. A fun group might be a normal human, a strange alien, a genius, a troublemaker, the responsible one. The difference creates the story. Okay. The setting, or sort of how they function the setting here. The big picture. A world where the impossible is possible. Teenagers from Outer Space does not provide a traditional RPG setting with detailed timeline, official world maps, political history, or an established galaxy. Instead, it provides a setting premise. Earth has entered an age where humans can encounter aliens, advanced technology exists, and everyday teenage life continues in the middle of all this impossible chaos. The game is not asking what is the complete history of this universe. It is asking what happens when ordinary teenagers live in a world where anything strange can happen. The setting exists to create situations. Because this is what the anime that inspired this, that's what that is about. It's a timeline when there's aliens and all this type of stuff, but it's really, you still have your high school life. So in a world where you can count aliens and all that, that's what the anime is asking. So the game is that, if you want to know. The game style of science fiction. The world of teenagers from outer space is not a hard science fiction. It is closer to the style of comedic anime and cartoons, especially the kind exaggerated situations found in the series like Yorosei Yatsura, one of the game's major inspirations. The setting follows a different kind of logic. Strange things happen, characters react dramatically. Impossible events become everyday problems. Comedy is more important than realism. A device does not need a detailed scientific explanation. The important question is, what happens when teenagers have access to this? So you might say this one could open a gate to somewhere. You say, well, how does it do that? You just wouldn't care. Earth in this game, in this universe, the default assumption is Earth-like society is an Earth-like society where alien contact and advanced technology are possible. However, the game does not define one official version of Earth. The GM can decide how common aliens are, how advanced technology has become, how much society understands alien life, how humans and aliens interact. One campaign may feel like a world where aliens are completely normal. Another may feel like a world where humanity is still adjusting. Both fit the game. The important element is that alien encounters can become part of a teenage life. So it can be done on the different preference situations. It means, okay, under some situations, you might not have to hide everything from the parents. Like, you might not have to hide, like, it might be more accepting of aliens at this stage. You might decide to run a world where it's still new. Like, the stuff is here, but people are still freaked out with the idea of aliens. Right? And it's like, okay, some parents might be completely opposed to even having them around. All right, so it's as a game master, you can decide what stage the setting is at, right? As far as that is concerned, and you could even decide that even under some conditions, well, it's more accepting, but that guy's parents still don't want him around aliens. You can make that, right? So think about the freedom as a game master to set any of that up that you want. The main setting, high school. The true center of the game is not outer space. It is school. The high school environment provides foundation for adventures, classes, teachers, homework, tests, clubs, sports, school events, dating, social groups. The science fiction elements are added on top of these familiar situations. A school dance is already complicated. A school dance involving alien visitors, experimental technology, and unusual abilities becomes an adventure in this game. So it's you taking something ordinary, just adding a bunch of craziness to it. It's like, okay, we're going to the dance, but what if we blow up the block, right? What if we open a gate to some other place where new aliens are going to show up? Teenage problems remain the same. Even in a world filled with aliens and futuristic technology, teenagers still worry about ordinary things. Best inspirations for such adventures, high school, etc., is steal ideas from Buffy the Vampire. Yeah. The game is anything you can think to steal, you're allowed here. And that's another great thing. Like, you'll just, it could be a game if you were to bother to run it. You could be watching something going, okay, I get that one. Clock in. With the if you played this every so often casually for fun, you could take a lot of things. You could make this a long-lasting campaign. It's just one that you don't come to consistently. Right? It's just like one where it's like, okay, what are we doing tonight? Because we're taking a break off the main game. Let's do aliens and teenagers. We'll continue our guys. Okay, what were you going to do last time? I don't know. And whatever you watch between here could be the new event. Could be the new thing you're going to bring in. Like you watch app. All right, marking that down. And so you could do that. Toon is, I wouldn't say you're going to run Toon like that. Toon could be fun in shorter runs. This game potentially could be a longer game, but it's more going to be in the casual side of taking a break. Be my thing, right? Okay, futuristic. Still worry about ordinary things, making friends, fitting in, getting attention, relationships, embarrassing parents, difficult teachers, social reputation. The humor comes from the contrast. A teenager might be worried about asking someone to a date while also dealing with an alien family visiting, a strange invention malfunctioned, a bizarre creature appearing at school. The impossible becomes part of normal teenage problems. You want to know what this game would lean into if you really wanted to think about it? Rick and Morty. You could do Rick and Morty with this. 1,000,000% you could do Rick and Morty with this. Because it has things. It doesn't care too much about combat, but at least it doesn't ignore it. And there is rules for it. I'm not going to go over every rule for combat, but there is actually rules for combat, like back and forth combat and everything. You could really do Rick and Morty with this. Rick and Morty. Jeez, I've never, you know what? That's Eureka. I'm just having that moment as we're going into the coverage. I never thought of Rick and Morty in this, but it's like Rick and Morty. This would be perfect for Rick and Morty. Wow, that's a live stream moment. There you go. Just thinking the top of my head. Should have thought of that sooner. But Rick and Morty. Damn right, this will play Rick and Morty. If you want to do a Rick and Morty theme game, not just on Rick and Morty, but something in the vein of a Rick and Morty gimmick, you could. Aliens in the setting. Aliens are one of the defining parts of this game. They are not simply invaders, monsters, villains. They can be students, friends, neighbors, relatives, visitors. The game treats alien characters as opportunities for personality and interaction. An alien character works best when they bring a different perspective to everyday life. Alien cultures and differences. The game encourages aliens to feel genuinely unusual. They may have different customs, different ideas about relationships, different biology, different social rules, different concepts of what is normal. The comedy often comes from the misunderstandings. An alien may sincerely believe they are behaving normally, while humans find their behavior completely bizarre. Like I said, the spitting thing, like completely insulting. The alien is not necessarily wrong. They simply see the universe differently. Technology in the setting. The game's universe allows extremely advanced and unusual technology. Examples include alien devices, experimental inventions, strange machines, futuristic gadgets. However, technology is not presented as realistic engineering. It exists to create stories. A gadget might solve a problem, create a larger problem, produce unexpected results, cause a completely new situation. The important question is not, how does this realistically function? Because you don't care. It is, what happens when teenagers use it? Society and the weird. One of the defining elements of this game is the contrast between extraordinary and the ordinary. The universe can contain aliens, advanced technology, strange abilities, impossible events, but people still have homework, school rules, family problems, social concerns. The game works because the world changing and the everyday life exist side by side. An alien arrival might be incredible, but someone still has a test tomorrow. So it's like, wow, but we still got to go to work. Right? It's like, wow, but I got to go see my teacher in the morning with my homework. It's that type of, you're wowed for a second, but then you're back to normalcy. Authority figures, teachers, parents, and other adults are useful parts of the setting because they represent normal expectations in an abnormal world. Common examples, teachers trying to maintain classroom order despite impossible situations, parents trying to understand their child's unusual friends and experiences, school officials attempting to apply normal rules to completely abnormal circumstances. Authorities potentially treating ridiculous teenage problems with far too much seriousness. These characters help create the contrast that drives the comedy. Space and Other Worlds. Despite the title, the game is not primarily a space exploration RPG. Players are generally not starship captains, galactic explorers, military personnel. Space exists mainly as a source of alien characters, strange cultures, new technology, unexpected visitors. The focus remains on the teenagers. The galaxy comes to them. They don't go to it. Creating your own setting. Because the game does not provide a fixed universe, every group creates its own version. Impossible questions for the GM. How common are aliens? Are they rare visitors, regular citizens, students at the school? How advanced is technology? Is the future slightly ahead of modern Earth? Extremely advanced? Completely cartoon like? How does humanity react? Are aliens accepted, studied, celebrated, still unusual? How strange is everyday life? Does weirdness happen occasionally, every week, every single day? There's no limit on how the game master wants to perceive these things or run a setting. What makes the setting for this game work, the strength of the setting comes from one central idea. The universe is strange, but teenage problems remain familiar. The characters are not usually worried about saving the galaxy. They are worried about school, friends, relationships, reputation, getting through another day. The fact that the galaxy may interfere is what makes those problems entertaining, just like the anime this is mainly inspired from. The setting of Teenagers from Outer Space is a comedic science fiction version of Earth where humans, aliens, and strange technology exist together. But the biggest challenges are still the everyday struggles of being a teenager. Unlike many RPG settings, this game does not give you a world history to memorize. It gives you a stage, a school, a community, a strange future, a universe full of possibilities. The players provide the characters, the GM provides the situations, and the setting provides a reason why a normal school day can become ridiculous. There you go. Teenagers from Outer Space. Covered slightly over an hour. I knew that would not be long. I knew that would not be long. I hope whoever does watch this finally get some enjoyment out of it. It's unique. It's Mike Pondsmith, right? And if you've heard about AD&D 1E a million times, maybe something different's a little interesting. And I mean, you can think of a million ideas to do with this if you wanted to nerd out. Rick and Morty's one, stealing ideas from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. High school animes, I mean, are going to give you, like, especially the routine high school animes that you see in the anime world. There's just so many little things they do routinely that you could take those routines and then start filling them in. So it's not hard to come up with stuff for this. And it's not hard to look at some like old like Western American movies or TV shows on teenagers and just keep stealing ideas. All put it together, and then you got to think the ridiculousness that comes up, like the humans being able to convince aliens of anything, or having aliens be socially weird or scared of things that they shouldn't be scared of if you think about it. But they are the outrageous personality type things. I hope it's just good food for thought. I didn't think when I went to cover this, there's a lot of games. Like, I know a lot of people won't cover Fudge or GURPS. Like, I'm talking about games a lot of people won't play. I love Didlands. I think a good number of people will actually, if they keep hearing that, I can probably get a small percentage of people try Didlands. Not everybody will. I always know I'm coming at unique games. But I am trying to be different. What I'm hoping is, even if people don't want to play the games, that they find thinking about this stuff interesting, entertaining, and different. I mean, it's like, dude, okay, you've heard about AD&D 1 500 fucking times. Like, I get it, dude. But here's something, and if you're a nerd and a creative like I am, here, I just want your brain to start cycling through what you could, like, here you are watching this, and you're probably, I knew before you mentioned anything, you're probably never going to play. But you're thinking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You want to know why you're doing that? You're nerding out. Like, as I talk about it, you can think, what do I do with that? Right? And so it is part of having some fun. I want people to have fun when I talk about the games here, right? It is just a nerdy practice. It's all food for thought. It's not the same thing. I get like, it's like, oh yeah, another night where the AD&D 1E guy goes and like, yeah, I agree with that. Even though you're boring, I agree with that. It's like, right, dude, maybe what would you do if we talked about a different type of game? And Mike Ponce-Smith, man, geez, he has the games out there that are going to make you go like, what the fuck? He was a what the fuck kind of guy. Like a lot of weird games. If one game I would hope that would hit bigger than it does is like Paranoia. Though I love Top Secret too. Top Secret's a great game. I don't mind James Bond, but I really love Top Secret. Like Top Secret's another good game. But I'm just a nerd in that way. I don't expect a bunch of people to be into this stuff, but I am. Ghostbusters. I wanted people to hear about that, not because it's just like, oh, man, it's cool, it's Ghostbusters. I want people to know, man, that was a good game. Like, I get it's off a popular thing, but they made that popular thing in the way they provide the game dice and the randomness into it. It's a good game. Like, it's a legit good game. Ghostbusters is a legit good game. Like, it's actually a fun game. You wouldn't have to know. It could be in 100 years, and you've never heard about Ghostbusters. And you've never heard about the movies. And if I sat down and ran that game for someone who's never heard about the movies, I guarantee that'd be fun, man. That's how good that game is. That's a good game. That's a good game. Right? Gangbusters, the ideas for Gangbusters is awesome. Like, it makes you think, and it will help you design other things too. And I want designers to hear a lot of these ideas, because a lot of these ideas, even if they're over the overall game, might not always be that great to some people. Some of the ideas that are buried in these games are fucking brilliant. Like, you might come up with a better package, but it's the idea within this package that might help your package get over the line. Like, it's like overall the game's like, oh, I don't know, but then you hear this one nifty thing about the game. It's like, but that thing, that's fun. That's unique. I wouldn't want to have to play that whole game for that thing, but that thing is unique. And then how could you take that thing and apply it to a better package? That's where I always hope game designers are checking out my games, or the games I cover. Because, okay, you can hear the game designer can hear 500 videos about AD&D 1E. But it's like, dude, come here and listen to the 10 different games. You know what I mean? Or not 10. I've covered like fucking 30 or 40 games. I swear to fuck. But so many different games where even the games overall might not be your cup of tea. There could be elements, especially if you're a game designer, where there's elements, there's just nifty ideas in it where you go, I wouldn't play that game. But that idea is fucking awesome because it makes you think. It's like a lot of people don't actually like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they love the mutant gimmick, the character creation mutant gimmick. It was so big, it kept going to after the bomb and all that stuff, right? Like, it continued on. And that's an example. There's a lot of ideas in these games where if designers heard them or people heard them, they'd be like, wow. Ghostbusters is another one where I think overall it's good, but there's ideas in Ghostbusters where you're like, that's awesome. And if you got a better package, maybe that's just a piece you need for your bigger package, right? There you go. So I think there's a lot of value. I hope it's entertaining. I hope it's interesting. I hope if you're a nerd when you listen to this stuff, that it makes you fucking think and nerd out and all that good stuff. All that fucking funky good stuff. That's the aim there, my dude. Like, I think most of the games here I'm covering aren't going to be games that sell to the majority. It's just that I'm not trying to sell them either. They are overviews. I find them interesting. Even I wouldn't go back and still play a bunch of them. Like, I had my time with them so I can cover them. But it's just, as a nerd, it's interesting to think about. And there's a lot of new, cool ideas. And it's interesting to be entertained and create conversation here. That's why I say, when you were saying, I don't want to cut you off, get back to the thing, I was like, no, dude. This is to get you to talk. So never feel that way. This is, if you're feeling inspired to say something, say it. And I'm not getting mad. I'm just saying, you got the same, Black Rose. If it's nerding you out to say something, that's the point, dude. You're even if you are cutting me off, that's what I want. And I'm not irritated by it. You notice when I'm reacting with you, I go right back to it. It doesn't bother me because I'm happy to stop and have the conversation. Hell, I wouldn't mind if at certain parts I'm stopping talking for 20 minutes to people before I go back to the thing. I don't care. That's the point of getting this stuff going, is to create conversation, to entertain you, right? That is for people that are here. So either they can paint their miniature if they're happy doing that when they listen, or if they're excited to talk about stuff because I got them nerding out and thinking. I'm a YouTuber. I'm here to entertain, take care of you. Right. Now, that's where I say that on Unscript Nights, it's really just about you guys purely, right? It's a lot less about me wanting to bring this stuff up, more like me just wanting to know what you guys want to talk about, period. But it's when I do these things, it's like, look, if you and another guy start talking about bread recipes while I'm talking about this game, I'm going to send a drone at you. Like, if it's like, there's like fucking, I don't mind if there's like a message or two. Cool. I don't care about that, but it's like 15 messages. And I realize you guys are focused on the bread recipes and on the fucking thing I'm talking about. Shut the fuck up about your goddamn bread recipes. I'm going to drone you. Right? Listen to the fucking thing. Talk about the thing. If not, listen. That'd be my only time. Like, that's like, I didn't mind about even the Warhammer stuff. I didn't care about a few messages, but it's like after you guys hit like close to 8, I was like, all right, fuck off with that shit right there. Because I know you're both nerds. And I know you're a nerd. So I'm not insulted that you're doing it. Right? And I want you to know that I was joking. Like, I'm fucking with you. I'm not really mad that you're talking about Warhammer that night with that other guy. First night I got after you about that. I was like, the Warhammer stuff. You guys started talking about Warhammer, and then my thing wasn't that I was bothered by you guys talking about Warhammer. It's just like, I'm an old school game master. I know my players are going to nerd out. I know nerds. I have no problem with, like, I'm not even mad at it's like, guys, focus back to the fucking game. And they'll be like, sorry, man, we're sorry if we pissed you off. Well, I'm not pissed off. Just, you know how you fucking are. You're fucking being nerds, but just focus on the game. That's your job right now. That's how I am. I know myself too. If I don't keep myself in check, I'm no better than you are, Black Rose. Right? I could fucking fly off and just go off into a conversation. I'm a weirdo fucking nerd creative just like you are. So I totally appreciate it. I'm never mad at that stuff. It's just that I know, just like an old school game master, sometimes you just got to roll that back in like, okay, all right, fuck it. That's what we're doing, dude. What we're But I appreciate you know shitloads about that stuff too. So it's easy to get caught up. Somebody mentions one thing and you're like, well, you could do this and you could, and I know you know this shit really well. That's why I knew when you were talking, it wasn't that you were saying anything bad. Because it's like you're well informed about what you're saying. It's actually probably a pretty good conversation in reality. It just, as we would say in the world, there's a time and place. Good conversation, you know your shit. I know you're a really smart guy when it comes to Warhammer stuff and lore and stuff. So I wasn't insulted, but I know, just like myself. I've had years where, well, Dean just said to get up. Steven, what? Focus on the fucking game. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, because I go off and answer to somebody. Bring up something that I know, I'm gone. I'm gone. That's why even these interviews, man, when I've done interviews with if you like Toon and having Bill, I wouldn't say like you could do a longer game with this than you could with Toon. It's not a game where you play it like a D&D campaign, but it's a great game that you could play like a long-term game, but you play a few sessions and you go back to your campaign. And it's a type of perfect game that I call a filler, right? When you need a break and you want to have a few drinks, like just say you want a non-serious night where you're having fun, this is the game. This in Toon. And it depends. You could do this with your family, definitely. But this one does lend itself to a lot of adult humor type of thing. But it's a game where it's like, I like the fact that you can play humans and convince aliens of anything. And even if you're the player playing the alien, the human character has a thing called Fako, where you have to marry the idea. Well, Ghostbusters and TMT, I actually take more serious. I actually don't take them as fillers. Personally, though, that's a personal thing. Maybe you like them as fillers. I love Ghostbusters. I fucking love Ghostbusters. I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for some of the concepts. I do like Heroes Unlimited better for Palladium games. But the Ghostbusters game, one of my favorites. One of my favorites. And not just because it's Ghostbusters. I said this just now before you got here. I said this to Black Rose because we were just talking about it. I said, in 100 years, I could meet someone who's never heard of the Ghostbusters cartoon or movies. Now, I guarantee if I sat down and ran that game for them, and they like the idea of TTRPGs, they'd love the Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters TTRPG is a good game. It's a fucking legit good game. Like, legit fun game. I've had a lot of fun with it. And I couldn't believe it because it's one of the, and it won awards too for some of the concepts that it brought in. And usually a lot of games out there, they'll say IP games don't sell that well. It really is. You get it, Phil. It's usually, and I get some games might be IPs or movie gimmicks might not work well, but the Ghostbusters game was awesome. Like, it had a good rhythm for a TTRPG. Like, the concepts were good, and then even the way they function, it was like fucking brilliant, dude. Going out catching the ghost, it was made for what we do. It had the right type of little bit of humor, but somewhat serious, right? And it had just concepts that would challenge you and make you think. And you're actively doing stuff. Like, it was just, it's good. That, I like Top Secret. I liked a lot of ideas from Gangbusters. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wouldn't give it as much time, I admit to you, as, say, a long D&D campaign. So, yeah, you might want to look at it as a break. But if I took a break, I might want to play Ghostbusters for a few weeks. Right? Where this game, Teenagers from Outer Space, it is fun. Especially if you want to sit down and be a little less serious. Because the rules are actually pretty simple. Just a D6 type of game, right? It doesn't mean it's completely simple. There's some interesting stuff. But it is meant to be funny and laid back. And there's no real serious character death, just like Toon. Toon is more family orientated. Toon is definitely a shorter one. I wouldn't run a long campaign with Toon, but I definitely run it for a while. But with this game, I run it for a while and maybe get 1 or 2 weeks out of it as a break. Go back to a D&D thing. And then every time coming out of it, give this a few weeks. And hell, if you're doing it and if you keep the story consistent, it really depends on the players and the timing. I mean, you can get away with probably, in some cases, run this for 3 or 4 weeks, right? But it has to be interesting. It has to be something where you're having enough fun, and there's enough continuation. And there's always, even if you do things ridiculous or funny, it's is there a bit of a serious side that you can appreciate what's going on in the story. Like, so say the game master built a story around this, like, okay, there's a bigger background story, even though there's all this comedy. You guys are trying to deal with this ridiculousness, but you and these aliens are trying to stop another group of aliens from taking over a part of the town. Right? Oh, Car Wars was quite interesting. Yep. Definitely. I enjoyed this one. I did good coverage on it. Like, you have to rewind. It only took like an hour to cover this because it's not like a big, massive game. So it's fun. But you could do this with family. What I did say, Bill, this would be the perfect game outside of the teenager stuff, like the pure focus on teenagers to do. You could run a Rick and Morty gimmick with this easily. Right? Because it gives you a lot of freedom, and you could just make some shit up. But you could definitely get away with a bit of Rick and Morty with this. Rick and Morty. I mean, hell, you could do something in the vein of Elf if you wanted to. But it is based off an anime. It's Mike Pondsmith, and if you know anything about Mike Pondsmith, you know he hit a few bangers out there like Cyberpunk, but he was also during our era, it was experiment time. Like, these are games where guys are making them not knowing what games would hit and which would or which wouldn't, right? And so we got some games that will probably not ever be made today that were made back then just because the market didn't know if they would be rejected. And people were willing to take chances because a guy like Mike Pondsmith, especially, first off, it's cheaper to get into the market at the time. And Mike Pondsmith has a good track record. Like, either he hits big or even his smaller hits make some money. Right? And so he always did something interesting. And he was a weird super nerd. But I'm a weird, crazy super nerd. That's why I like a lot of his stuff, right? Castle of Wolfenstein, I like Cyberpunk. I like this. I like a lot of his weirdness because I'm also a sort of weird, crazy guy. So when I read about this, I was like, it's like, who made it? Mike Pondsmith. I was like, yeah, fucking, I'll try it. Because the old guys that had the games that I tried from Mike Pondsmith, some of them just collected the games. I said, so you had the second edition of this? And I'm like, have you guys tried it? No, but it's one of Mike's games, so we got it. Can I borrow this? Of course, Steven. To them, the old guys would lend me games all the time because they knew it's worth lending Steven the game because Steven will actually go run it. It wasn't just a read or a waste of time. Like, they knew if they let me a game, Steven's going to try it. And they wanted to know. They wanted to know what it's like. It's like, we got the game. Is it worth playing? I tell them my experience. Some games they would go try. Right? Some games they still just put back on the shelf. But I boil the books, print them sometimes, shit like this. That's how it worked. But Mike Pondsmith was so well liked. He was strangely well liked by a lot of people, like, because he had a lot of weird games that you think some people wouldn't play, but people just liked him because he was like a super nerd. So like everyone I know likes Mike Pondsmith. I said, is there people that don't like Mike out there? No. Everyone's just like, Mike's a fucking crazy nerd. And they don't say it in a bad way. It's not like a weird nerd as an insult. Like it's like a good crazy. A creative crazy. Right? And I'm a creative, so I really appreciate that he was a little out there. Because I'm a little out there. And some of the best stuff, like, think about Mysteria. You don't get Mysteria without some out there ideas. So to get great, fantastic shit that we get to game with, you don't just you never look at crazy in our hobby in a bad way. You look at sort of the crazy weirdness as something to appreciate. Because our hobby thrives on it. Right? Our hobby thrives off unique out there ideas. And if everything's too generic, we'd be bored, right? There you go. Okay, that's 3 hours. Usually I go like 4 hours, but it's just doing some prepping tonight. Want to do some last minute questions. I got a couple of characters I got to check out, or at least a character for sure I got to check out. So far, I think I'm good with Zag's character, a fighter. Pretty happy with it. That's it. That's it, guys. All right, Black Rose, I'll let you say goodnight here before I take off. Bill, as well. Good night. It's not good night, like I'm not totally gone, but I got to go work on some stuff. Make sure I'm prepped for tomorrow's interview. I got questions. I just want to make sure I go over everything and make sure I'm comfortable with the whole thing before I go to sleep tonight. Because I got things to do in the morning. Yes. I'll see you tomorrow night. All right, love you guys.